Hey, gals and guys, this is Michael Ferrari of Cinema to Meep. Welcome to the 50th bonus Patreon episode. And joining me today for this, I guess, landmark episode is Ara Alishan. Welcome back, Ara.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Meep. Happy 50th.
Happy 50. I do feel 50 actually. So it's kind of fitting.
No, that's really cool. And I feel like that number kind of snuck up.
It did. Yeah, I didn't realize it. I joke that sometimes these bonus episodes are going to eclipse regular episodes and the amount of them, and I think it's actually true. It's actually going to happen. Um, so today since it's 50, a nice number. It's Christmas. The holidays, all that stuff. It's the end of the year and we wanted to talk about a certain special subject, a certain theme today, and that's comfort movies. And this was a theme suggested by our good pal and patron supporter Bill Banks. We He mentioned there were a couple of things he wanted to talk about on this podcast, and comfort movies was one of them. And that just sounded like the right option for now. And what better subject, what better theme than comfort movies, things we often go to, especially when things get hard, and certainly life can do that, and it has been doing that for
Yeah.
some of us several times over and over, I feel like. And I often retreat to comfort movies, and I don't know, there's something about them that makes me happy and keeps my mind off of the terrible things that happen in life, and or just the stress that you face every day, whether it's just high stress or just low whatever. We need to preoccupy our minds and our lives with things that make us feel good, and certainly movies are a big part of that, and I know that's true for you. And and I and, and there are these movies that we call comfort movies because that's what they do. They provide us with that warmth and comfort, the cozy blanket feel. Movies that we've watched many times over, that we retreat to because we know them so well, and they're become a part of who we are, and sometimes inform who we are, in some cases. And I just love them. Why comfort movies for you, Laura?
Right, yeah, and first I should apologize because I found myself nodding along to everything you're saying, forgetting that this is an audio podcast first and foremost. Um, but yeah, no, you kind of nailed it. I feel like for me, movies have always been about escapism, not necessarily like escape from, realism, but just escape from our problems, from the world. And I've always, I mean, gosh, for as long as I can remember now, I've had like pretty stressful jobs and dealt with a lot of really heavy issues and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
and one of my go-to forms of stress relief has always been movies. Just kind of shutting down at the end of the night and putting on something I love, and just kind of getting carried away in that. And that's, because that's what I use movies for, is probably one of the reasons why I don't watch a lot of depressing dramas and true crime documentaries and all that other stuff, because for me
Sure.
it's always been about getting away from that kind of stress. And
Hmm.
that's been a really important part of my life, for sure. And I know just this topic, like you said, was recommended by our buddy Bill, and I know that he's been dealing with a lot of things personally, and I hope that he's been able to kind of find some comfort in movies during this time, and battling illness and whatever else it's he's going through. And I hope that podcast can also help give him a distraction and some comfort too. And I'm happy that we can do our part. But I'm really glad he suggested this because it does feel like a perfect topic that I probably wouldn't have thought of, and that is so fitting for the holidays as well.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, I love your setup behind
Oh
you.
yeah, I went a little bit. Yeah, if you're looking at the video version of this podcast, which I hope you are, just go to our Patreon page or our YouTube channel, and you'll see us on the screen. And yeah, it's a pretty red hue. I just felt it looked very Black Christmas, looked very
Oh, it does
very
for
much
sure.
of the holiday, and that's something that I'm big on. I'm not a big Christmas person. I am a big Christmas movie person, like in terms of Christmas horror movies and Christmas action movies.
Mhm.
Um, that's a big part of who I am, and I think I'm actually going to mention one comfort movie that's Christmas themed soon. But I wanted to, yeah, I just wanted to kind of fill myself with that coziness of those kinds of lights, and there's something very warm and comforting about them. I did not grow up with Christmas in my life because of growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, because of my
Right.
grandmother, who was had a very strange relationship to religion growing up, and so I didn't have it, and so I'd see it from afar, and I always wanted to have that kind of Christmassy thing going on in my house, and now I get to have that, and
Right.
I get to have these lights and play around with them, which is fun. So it's nice to kind of wrap yourself in that kind of world and sentiment this time of year, and certainly one of the best things that I use for coziness is this glass here of single malt scotch. I'm holding
As
up
you
to the camera.
should. Yeah.
That definitely helps. It's certainly helping with my cold, which I have right now. So if I do have some coughing fits, I apologize in advance. I certainly did on the podcast I recorded the other night. I'm sorry about that, guys. If you listened to it by now, I'm not sure if you have, but it was a lot of coughing. I'm sorry about that. So I still have that, but scotch is helping. It's very cozy. It's very warm, and very happy to have it with me.
Sure, sure. I feel like I should have I'm trying to think of a good drink for this episode. Maybe Southern Comfort would have been a good thing to have here next
Yeah,
to me.
that's actually pretty good. I like that.
But I've just got some boring iced tea and water because it's
Oh
so
yeah, I got all of
cold
that.
over
I've got
here.
green tea. I've got water. I'm gonna be drinking lots of different things during this
No,
podcast.
no, do it, man. Keep that beautiful speaking voice going.
My clogs voice is great. Yeah, I love it. So, guys, comfort movies. We're gonna get to it really soon.
Oh
Is there anything
yeah.
you want to talk about with like recently seen? I just did a podcast, so I don't have much of a list
Oh
left
sure.
from that. I just kind of curious what you've been watching lately.
Yeah, I can mention a few things kind of shortly, briefly. Sorry. I'll mention a couple of newer releases. One of them I actually watched before our last episode and just forgot to mention it, so I made a note to mention it today. And that was Barbarian, which
Yeah.
I guess is kind of a controversial one because it got a lot of praise from what I understand. It was well received, but I think everyone I know didn't care for it. Like everybody, I don't think I know anybody who was kind of high on it. But I watched it with my wife on was it HBO Max, I want to say, or it might have been
Maybe
Peacock. I
maybe
can't
maybe
remember.
Hulu. I don't
Oh yeah, maybe
because I
Hulu.
think
Actually, I think it
because
was
it's a 20
Hulu.
it's a 20th Century Fox film, and Hulu Disney owns it, so
Gosh,
maybe.
that's sad that it's gotten to the point where I can't keep track of these streaming
I
services.
can't
But
either, honestly. Yeah, might have been
um,
HBO too. So for all
we
I know.
watched it on whichever one it came out on, and we both had fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a fun, entertaining movie, and
Mm-hmm.
I dig the swerve and the setup and the aesthetics and all that, and I
Sure.
enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure how any of it'll hold up on like a couple of rewatches or whatever. But for now, like it's it's good for me. I had fun with that. Um, Another one I'll mention, I actually just saw in theaters. I want to say it was last Friday night. I actually went and saw it with my sister,
Hmm.
which is Violent Night.
Hmm.
Um, and because we're recording this before I've had a chance to listen to your recently seen, did you catch that one by any chance?
I did see it.
I think I remember you posting about it, and I we had fun with it. We were laughing and having a good time, and I don't know if it's like going to be a new classic. Like I feel like some of the humor didn't quite work or land, and like some things could have been a little, I don't know, better. but uh,
Yeah.
but I love the concept, and it was a fun idea and some fun performances in there. So yeah, it was a overall thumbs up for me. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I think what I said on the last podcast was it's a good concept, but I felt like it was only a concept. It didn't try to
Right.
it didn't go past that. I think it's basically Die Hard. No, it's Bad
Yeah.
Santa meets Die Hard meets Home Alone. And it's those three things, and then not much more else, which is
Yeah, like
fine.
they had this great idea and
Yeah.
then they just made a movie, but it's like you
Yeah.
could have, worked on the script a little
They could
more.
have subverted it a little bit more, made it a little bit more like yeah, break out of
Yeah.
those conventions. But I thought David Harbour was a lot of fun in
Yeah,
that
I
role.
like
I thought he
him.
was
I
good.
like him.
And I thought he added to it and made it
Mhm.
interesting to some of the other characters because it's about a rich family and like you can't really feel bad for them at the
Yeah.
end of the day. I
And they're
don't.
supposed to be kind of unlikable and stuff.
Yeah, and then but then you're also supposed to like cheer for them by the end. I'm like, I don't think so. No. So
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. And there was a lot of stuff that was like, like I kind of figured out where certain things in the plot were going just because of the movies they were paying
yeah.
homage to, like paying tribute to, like I guess spoiler alert. I'll just throw this out there though. For one example, is there's a rescue team coming that's talked about, and because I knew this was so heavily influenced by like Die Hard, like
Yes.
every time it was showing them, I was just thinking of the Die Hard 2 twist, and I was like, oh, that's coming for sure. So like I wasn't surprised even a little bit when that came. and
Absolutely. I
and
absolutely saw
but
that
it's,
coming.
I don't mind because I think it's kind of like
Yeah.
knowingly paying, it wasn't like ripping them off as much as it was
No, no,
paying
no.
tribute,
No.
which is cool. So
That's
it's
true.
okay. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a new classic or anything, but I always love finding more stuff to watch around the holidays, and
Yeah.
maybe it'll find its way into the rotation eventually. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel, when you say it was just a concept, I feel like wasn't there a fake commercial in Scrooge that was like just like this? I want to say
Oh,
there
that
might
does
have
you're
been.
right. It was something like that.
I
I haven't
feel
seen
like there was
Scrooge in a while,
something.
but
Yeah, same. And that's actually something that I almost even picked for this episode because I do love that movie, but it's been a long time. So there's something in my brain that's telling me that was in there while I was watching it, but I'll have to report back on that later. But yeah, I'll leave my recently seen to that for now. I think that's about all I wanted to mention for today.
yeah, I mean, I other than like the past couple of days, we've just been watching Christmas related movies and winter related
Mm.
movies. I watched The Boogans this earlier this
Oh yeah,
evening.
that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's just gives you that winter vibe. It's it's very much that. It's
Hmm.
silly, it's fun. My cat is named Boogans.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It just so happened, it's just a coincidence, weirdly, because I think one of my kids named the cat
Oh,
Boogans,
no
not
way.
knowing it was a movie. I'm like, oh, it's actually a movie too.
I just assumed you picked it all
No, it
the
wasn't me.
time.
um, and then just this morning we watched Gremlins,
Oh,
me and the
awesome.
kids, and it's interesting watching these movies with them. I'm always curious to see what their reactions are going to be. I saw Gremlins when it came out in the theater in the summer. I think it's just it was I was turning 9 that summer, and that's when it came out. And I loved it. It came out famously came out the same day as Ghostbusters, but I didn't care about Ghostbusters, and that wasn't for me. I was all about Gremlins that summer and that in that year. and it was such a big movie for me. And watching it with them, I'm like, how are they going to react to this movie? And they weren't really into it. And I had my plush Gizmo doll,
Oh,
Mogwai,
yeah.
and from the 80s, from 1984. My daughter ran into the den in the video store where I'm in right now, and she grabbed the Gizmo, and because she wanted to watch Gremlins with it, and she loved it, and my son loved it. They just were just kind of like laughing at some of the very harsh and dark things about it. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people talk about how they get traumatized by certain movies growing up. I never actually had that much of that growing up. Like, what things traumatized me, I guess, like the real R-rated horror movies that I would go see. Like some of them like really scared me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like some of these like family-ish oriented movies that have traumatized people, I said they never got to me. And I noticed that my kids don't have that effect either
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
far. So Gremlins
They're
hasn't
properly
traumatized them. They kind
desensitized.
of they kind of thought it was funny that the when Phoebe Cates tells her very dark story about her dad dying in the chimney, which is pretty ridiculous when you think of
It it is, and they spoof it like in a hilarious way in Gremlins too. And
yeah.
it's funny because you're mentioning all this because I actually had a conversation about Gremlins at dinner tonight with my
Oh,
brother,
funny.
and it's probably, I mean, like one of my favorite movies of all time, like definitely like top five. I don't know where,
Mm-hmm.
as high as two possibly. I don't know, but I got a birthday gift this year that was a Gizmo Funko Pop, which I've never
Mm-hmm.
got a Funko Pop before, but I was excited to get it, but my daughter actually has already kind of claimed it for herself, so I have no idea where it is.
It's in her room somewhere.
But that's so cool that you showed your kids. I've showed my daughter up until the Gremlins turned 1 year, and then I was like, "Yeah, we'll watch the rest tomorrow night," and just didn't bring it up again.
Yeah, it's like it changes that movie. We were
This is
talking
when she
about
was
how
younger. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
don't
were
know
talking about
now,
how
but
dark it suddenly gets. Like people get murdered. My son's like,
oh
"How many people have
yeah,
gotten killed in this movie so far?" Because
yeah.
it does feel like quite a few, right? It's just like what?
No, no, for sure. I feel like she might be ready for it. I don't know, next year. We'll see. But
Right,
I'm excited for that for sure because it is one of my favorites. I love
right.
Gremlins. That's so cool you got to share it with those kids.
I mean, violence is violent movies are okay in this house
Oh,
for the most
yeah.
part, especially like
Yeah.
the action movies. Like my son's really like enjoying those,
Awesome.
and he watches like every Friday night he watches like a movie like that with his mom.
Sure.
And then I introduced him to like all these kind of action movies. We watched
Oh,
uh,
so
we
cool.
watched Die Hard
That's
last
awesome.
week, and
That's
he
right. Yeah.
as a family, all of us, and it was really it's a family that watches Die Hard together stays together. I say,
As it should be.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like a really entertaining, well-made movie. Like, wow, you watch that movie now, all these years later, and like, wow, movies just
It's
aren't
so
as
good.
well
Yeah.
paced as this movie.
No,
It's like it's
no.
over 2 hours. It's like
Yeah.
130 minutes or something, but you don't feel it. It just flies
No,
by. It's like
no.
paced so well. It takes its time to set up the characters, and then the set pieces, and then you just care about everybody by the end, and
Oh, that's
you want to
awesome.
see
Yeah.
Hans Gruber die, and the kids were really into that, and so
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. I mean, we all grew up in such a different time, like I was watching like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street when I was my daughter's age, you know what I mean? But it's
yeah.
like maybe I'm protecting her a little too much from some of those things, but yeah, it's just a different era these days for sure. But no, that's awesome. I love that you're introducing them to all these great movies.
Yeah, I think it's finally like, I've been pretty careful-ish over the years. I mean, they did go see The Lost Boys at the drive-in a couple years ago, but that was like, felt like a PG-13 movie.
It does. Yeah, it does.
So it's like now it's like it feels like, oh, we've kind of let that down. Like you can just go watch whatever now. Pretty much. If you're into watching it, I mean, we don't force like these movies on them. It's like
No,
if they want
no.
to watch them, go
Yeah.
watch them. That's kind of like what it is. I didn't have that. I just had to watch these movies growing up because my parents and my grandmother wanted to go see R-rated movies like
That's right. I
Silent
remember.
Night, Deadly Night when I was 9 years old, and yeah, so it was a different time for me too. But seeing these Christmas action related movies, I think we're gonna probably watch Long Kiss Goodnight
Oh,
next.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
think that's a must. You need to get at least those two essential Rennie Harlan Christmas action movies, Die Hard 2 and Long Kiss Goodnight
Yeah.
and
I
Before
would,
Earth.
yeah, I would recommend both for sure. That's great. Love it.
And we watched one of your movies just last night.
That's right. That's right.
So we're going to talk about that one really soon.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how that went over.
All right, so that's that. I did want to mention before we get into our proper list, we'll do honorable mentions too. But I wanted to mention, do you have a Christmas comfort movie that you wanted
I
to mention?
do.
Yeah.
I do. I actually, gosh, I mean, I
Is
have
it?
one on my list
Oh,
even.
actually, you have one. That one that's maybe the one that's not on your list. Actually, you do have it on
Yeah,
your
no,
list.
there's
Okay.
many that aren't on my list.
Okay.
One I'll probably mention later with the one on my list. But there's a lot, honestly. I would even say movies like Home Alone are kind of comfort movies to me
Yeah,
at this
for
point.
sure.
And just really make me feel like, it's the holidays and remind me of my childhood. And
Hmm.
those are the movies I enjoy with my kids too, the first two Home Alone movies. And
Hmm.
especially part one, though. I just have a different kind of a nostalgia with that one.
Sure.
Gremlins would be it actually almost made my list,
Oh, there you go.
Gremlins, but I was thinking about some of those traumatic things you were mentioning, and I
I
just thought I would try to avoid that
think
for my list, just as a challenge to myself, like try not to put something that other people will think is warped. Just like, man, like I would love a Mogwai, consequences be damned. Like Gizmo is
sure.
like my dream pet, so or companion, not even pet. So yeah, like I love that. Those are kind of movies. I think Scrooge just is on there, even though I haven't watched it for a while. That's a movie that I remember very fondly and I'm a fan of. Sometimes I feel like I like purposely just don't watch things for a long time, and it kind of makes it better for you to go back to later, like you don't
Hmm.
have to wear them out.
That's true.
um Die Hard 1 and 2 are both movies that I love, that are both set around Christmas. I don't know how they pulled it off with part 2 being as good as it is. It's so underrated.
Hmm.
I remember my cousin, this is when we were like 10 or something. I don't even remember. No, I guess it was, probably was a little older, but teenagers probably. But he would argue how good part 2 is, and we were like, "Oh, you're crazy," And then I'm like, one day I watched it again, and I was like, "Oh man, he's right. I'll never tell him that.
It's
I'll never tell him that."
right.
But he was right all these years, and it's become a staple. I'm a huge fan. Gosh, just thinking of other things. I mean, there's a lot of horror movies as well, of course, set around Christmas. But to get away from that a little bit, I'll say a movie even like I Come in Peace, aka Dark Angel,
Hmm.
that is set around Christmas, is a movie I love that I could watch anytime and makes me happy.
Hmm.
Despite being about alien drug dealers and all these other things going on. And
Alien drug dealers,
um,
that old plot.
yeah, and like a movies like one we covered together, like Lethal Weapon, is a great action movie and with a great sense of humor that is totally a comfort movie too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot, too many to list, honestly,
Oh
but
yeah, I mean Lethal
um,
Weapon for sure, yeah.
I do love Christmas. I like to be a contrarian, and I'm like really into Halloween and stuff. But if I'm honest with myself, I'm really into Christmas too, and I'm happy when it comes around.
It's always good. So I only wrote one movie because I talked about some of these other movies.
Sure, sure,
And that is my Christmas comfort movie is a comedy.
sure.
That's not Christmas Story because I actually only have seen Christmas Story maybe once or twice in my life.
Oh, right, right.
It was not. I like it. I do like it. I just prefer Black Christmas, honestly. I think that's the Christmas Bob Clark movie for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I have any others other than this one. Looking at my honorable mentions, I don't see any Christmas. I see some Halloweeny kind of things.
sure, sure. Oh, yeah, I've got plenty of those too, for sure.
Yeah, so it's actually 2005's Just Friends is my
Oh,
Christmas
that's right. You
comfort movie.
mentioned that.
I don't
Yeah.
know what it is about this movie. It's very silly. It's Ryan Reynolds movie, like an early Ryan Reynolds movie, an Amy Smart comedy about a guy who was obsessed with his best friend, and because he was not confident, because he was overweight and felt like he was being ignored, he just never got up the nerve to show his love for her, and then it was too late, and she'd moved on to somebody else, and so flash forwards to the present time, and he's a kind of a successful jerk in the music business, and he has to go back home for the holidays, and then wackiness ensues because he's also bringing along a pop star played hilariously by Anna Faris in the movie,
That's right. That's
playing like
right.
a Britney Spears esque, or just even maybe an ditzier version of that pop star, and so it's a lot of wackiness. It's set in New Jersey. It was filmed in, I think, in Canada, where Ryan Reynolds hails forth from, and it has a lot of like wacky, crazy, over the top set pieces that you would see like in a Christmas Vacation, like where a lot of like things like that, like where things go wrong in Christmas Vacation. But then it has a lot of character stuff too, a lot of character comedy, and Ryan Reynolds is really funny in it, and Adam Faris is really funny in it, and I like Amy Smart, so it's like it makes him a good heartwarming comedy with a lot of that kind of dumb comedy too that I tend to like as well. So I tend to watch. I actually do watch it every year. It's become a tradition though since it came out. And it's kind of my go-to for comedy when I'm looking for comedy at Christmas.
That's cool,
I mean,
man.
there are a lot of other Christmas comedies.
Uh,
I just for some reason I just go to this one no more than like
no.
say Christmas Vacation, which
Oh,
I
right.
do enjoy. We watched as a family last year, but I do prefer. I've always preferred the original Vacation and the Vacation movies. So,
Sure.
and even European Vacation, I've always been a fan of that one too. But
Yeah.
I just tend to go back to Just Friends. That's my go-to comfort Christmas movie, comedy at least. More than often, I go to horror movies, though,
Yeah,
the Christmas
same.
horror movies, and I would say my number one. Well, it actually alternates. Sometimes it's Black Christmas, but sometimes it's Christmas Evil. That's my number one.
Those, yeah, I can see that.
Another New Jersey one, Christmas Evil. It's something about that movie is magical. To me, it's pretty dark. It's from the killer's point of view, which is
Yeah.
not everyone's cup of tea in a slasher movie, but I think that one becomes a character study. It has a dark sense of humor about itself, and has a really fun ending that you may not
I
see
like that
coming.
ending a lot. Yeah.
And it's John Waters' favorite, like his favorite movies of all time. He has a commentary on the DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know, something about it. It's just really does right what a lot of sometimes holiday horror movies go wrong. But I feel like this one just gets the right balance of thrills, but also some interesting dramatic stuff as well, which surprising. I love it.
Sure.
Yeah, and I do like the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, but I am a big fan of part two.
I I don't okay.
I was
So
actually going to talk about them this month, but I'm like, because that new Blu-ray came out, but it came out a little too late for
oh
me to
right. Yeah, that
for me
did
to
come out.
to get
with
to all
the
of them.
last three sequels, I think, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen them all. I love the first Silent Night, Deadly Night. I'm a huge fan of that. I believe it was filmed in Utah.
Hmm.
I don't like sequels where it's like I know I think we've talked about this before, or you were saying it's like getting two movies in one or something, but I hate it
Yeah.
when it's like half of the movie is just the other movie.
Yeah, yeah. It is
And
for the
it's more
first
than
40 minutes of that movie is
yeah.
flashbacks to the
But
first
I
movie.
mean yeah, but I mean I guess like I appreciate for what it is. I think all those sequels I probably seen once each, but I remember them okay. But
Hmm.
I love the first one.
Hmm.
I actually am a big fan of Christmas Evil too, and I'm not like that's not my favorite genre, the kind of person going crazy movie, like which there's a lot of, but I think that's like a great example of one, and I love like the Christmas setting and just everything about it, and it's just such a good performance and so well made.
Hmm.
Um, I will say something controversial quickly. I'm this is I mean I'm not going to be asked back on, I'm sure, but I'm like the only person I know who's just not a big fan of Black Christmas, which is weird because I'm a huge slasher movie fan. I love slashers. I don't know what it is. I just don't. I'm not into it.
I,
And I
I
love
I
Christmas.
had a feeling because I was gonna send you a couple of Blu-rays for your birthday. I'm like, should I send
Oh
you Black Christmas or Carrie? I'm like, okay, I'll go with Carrie just to be safe.
oh yeah. Thank you, by the way. Thank you very much, by the
Because I have
way.
had a feeling Black Christmas wasn't quite your cup of tea as
No, I
much.
feel like I even wrote in once years ago when you were doing 70 slashers or something. I have a vague memory of that, but I don't know what it is. Something about the giggling, snorting killer and the way he those I don't know the way those phone calls go, and I get
Mhm.
that that's part of the appeal to most people. I don't know. I don't find Olivia Hussey likable as the
Mhm.
final girl at all, or sympathetic. I guess she's realistic. I mean, the way she is towards her boyfriend
You
and
don't
everything.
even like her hands on her boobs sweater, which is
Yeah, no,
pretty
that's
amazing.
okay. That part's okay. There is one person I love in that movie. I'm sure you could probably guess who that
Oh
is.
yes,
Yeah, it's
she's
just
the VIP of that movie, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, exactly. Just so fun and such a fun performance. Makes me wish she'd done a lot more horror even. But yeah, so I mean, I get it. It's like everyone's favorite Christmas horror movie, probably my brothers and everyone else I know, but I don't know what it is. I just maybe it got hyped up too much before I finally saw it, and it just wasn't for me. So I don't even remember last time I saw it. Maybe I just need to rewatch it. But
Yeah, no, I hear you because
um,
I'm a little bit like with that with Silent Night, Deadly Night One. I mean, I like it, but people like worship it.
yeah,
I
maybe
prefer the
yeah.
sequel because the sequel has maybe there's more of a tongue in cheek kind of quality to it or silliness
I don't know. I think
that
that
I
first
like.
one has a lot of tongue-in-cheek
The first
silliness.
one
Yeah,
is, but also has a very mean spirited vibe too. That I don't know.
sure.
So I guess I can see your point of view on both Black Christmas and Saturday Night Dead Night.
No,
I
no, I
think
can
it's just
see your point of view too. Yeah,
there's
yeah.
something for everyone, and in both of those movies. So
And I feel like
which
there's
is
a
good.
bunch we're not even mentioning, like
Oh
that'll
yeah,
probably come to me later.
Don't
But
Open Till Christmas.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
all those movies.
I will say one movie that is I'm a fan of that I'm not sure how well it's been received or thought of because I feel like it just kind of came and went is Krampus from a few years ago.
Yeah, I like that movie.
I'm a big fan of that one, and I don't think it's quite for Christmas what Michael Dougherty did with Trick or Treat for
Right.
Halloween. But it's close enough, like to me. And I actually went to an early screening of that where he was there.
Oh wow.
And I asked him, why did you make it PG-13? Sorry if I've told this story before. This was
No, I
years
don't
ago,
think so.
but I asked him, oh, what made you decide to go with PG-13? And he had a really good answer about just wanting to make a horror movie that's accessible to everyone and like the stuff we grew up with. And he gave it, he was much more articulate than I am, but he said it in a way that just made me appreciate the movie even more, because I think part of me wanted it to be a little bloodier and crazier and stuff,
Hmm.
but it was good. And it was proper dark too. So
It's pretty dark.
yeah,
That one I actually was hesitating to show the kids.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe a few years for
No,
that one, a couple of years for that one.
I love this. I love our holiday movie tangent here, though, because
Oh
this is
yeah.
giving me. And I was gonna say I've never seen Just Friends, but I feel like you've mentioned it before, and I'm gonna make it a point to watch it this year before Christmas. And when you were saying Anna Faris was a pop star in it, I was remembering that she's a pop star in I'm blanking on it now. The Lost in Translation.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
And now I'm wondering if that, like, if I can find more like enough,
Yeah. Those two. Yeah. Maybe
like if
that's
she's
it.
done it like enough times in that era.
And
Be a whole other podcast
I think she's a similar
episode.
character. She's kind of like
Yeah, she's like supposed to be like a Britney Spears kind of
yeah, and a similar like
interesting.
maybe not a nice person
Yeah,
in
something like
both.
that. But I love to watch that movie, and honestly, I did have a big crush on Amy Smart back in the day, so that won't hurt either. So I'll put it on the list and I'll report back to you.
Awesome. All right, that was our little Christmas tangent. I mean, we can keep going on. Tornado Drip
Oh, of
Blood.
course. Yeah.
What else? There's so many of them.
No, don't
Um,
worry. Some of these movies have Christmas and holidays in them too. We'll get
yeah,
to it.
exactly. All right. Let us do our honorable mentions. I have a fairly big list, so I'll let you get to yours, and I'll just rattle off mine. Or you want me
Right.
to, or I can just go all crazy and say them.
I feel like I could have a very, very, very long list. There were so many movies that came to
Oh,
mind.
yeah, it's like I could have had
Um,
hundreds probably. Yeah.
yeah, this was one that we should say it's kind of been months coming. We almost recorded it in the summer, I want to say.
Yeah.
But it just kind of worked out this way, which is perfect. But I feel like I went through many different movies in my mind over those months.
Oh
And
yes.
the first one I'll mention, which was definitely a huge comfort movie to me, is E.T., the
Mhm.
extraterrestrial, of course. And
Never heard of it.
the reason I decided not to cover it was because I feel like you covered it really well. And I was like, well, what else is there to say? I'd rather put a spotlight on some other movies that maybe aren't discussed as much. So, yeah, I took that off there. And there's other movies
You
that
get
I
you get
love.
to say a little something because today is Steven Spielberg's birthday,
Oh, that's
as well
right. That's right.
as well as our pal of the podcast, Quentin Dunn. Happy birthday, Quentin! A
Oh,
little shout
happy
out to you.
birthday. It's my wife's birthday too, actually.
December 18th. So
December
it's
18th. Yep.
yeah, nice. Happy birthday to your wife.
Yeah, a lot of good people on this day. So yeah, so I love ET, of course. And I was gonna mention a few more. Oh, I was gonna mention The Burbs, which is probably my favorite like comedy of all time, like just straight up comedy. Just does it for me on every
Mhm.
level. And then that's like a movie that
And dark too, because like Joe Dante likes to go dark. Yeah.
and that's my twisted sense of humor, I guess, too. But that's yeah, that's like that movie will cheer me up anytime. And then there's many others. One other comedy that I love I'll mention is Clue, which I haven't watched for a while. That's another one I feel like I'm saving up to rewatch it again and get that extra bounce out of the time away. But that's another movie I've always been really high on, and there's countless others. So many.
See it before they remake it. I think they're working on a remake right now.
Oh, really? Hmm.
Well, this is like an
Okay.
adaptation of the board game, but same thing,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah, it's that was a really clever one, and maybe I'll save my more detailed thoughts on some of these in case other topics come up in the future. We can pick them for, but
Movies based on
uh,
board games.
yeah, all right. Number one, Clue. Number two, Jumanji. Or we're out of
And then we're
material.
done.
Yeah. But no, that's there's a lot of good stuff out there, and there's so many that came. And there's actually a lot that we've covered on this podcast already too that I would totally say are comfort movies.
That's the thing I ran into a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would. There was a ton. Like I was thinking of, so many. I was like, oh yeah, we did cover that and that and so, I don't
I
know.
mean, even in my top five, I have movies that I've talked about before, but I'm like, I can't because I've watched these are real total comfort movies to me.
Yeah, if you
I
have to,
can't
you
not
have
mention
to.
them, but there's so many.
No, for
Yeah,
sure. Trust me, I get it. So yeah, no, I'll leave my honorable mention short for now, but I'm curious to hear
there's
your
like a bill.
comprehensive
There's
list.
a billion. I've 3 pages here, guys.
This is the
Um,
extended cut, everyone. Be
this is
ready.
the exciting. All right, I'll try to be quick about this. All timers. I wrote down When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, great
Just one of the
choice.
guys, of course. Jumpin' Jack Flash, which I can watch over and over and over.
Mhm.
Mermaids, which I almost watched today because I was, just wanted to watch it. Soap Dish, The Lost Boys, After Hours, the only Scorsese movie on my list. Desperately Seeking Susan, Basic Instinct, The Fog, Some
Awesome.
Kind of Wonderful, my favorite, John Hughes, Can't Buy Me Love, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, 7 Minutes in Heaven, Grease 2, Indian Summer, Ordinary People, Lord Love a Duck, Angel, My Boyfriend's Back, which I made you watch for a podcast,
I
uh,
remember.
Killer Party, Just Before Dawn, Night of the Comet, Happy Birthday to Me, Chopping Mall.
Oh, awesome.
These are all movies I watch over and over, guys. Roller Boogie, Arthur, Chances Are, Doc Hollywood, Ellie's Story, Mannequin, the first and second one, Modern Girls, talked about that one plenty,
Yeah.
Romancing the Stone, Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion, The Bermuda Depths, The Crush, Elvira, of course, the first movie, Mistress of the Dark, Once Bitten, Body Parts, Ghost in the Machine, Prom Night, The Midnight Hour, Pin, Burglar, which I just rewatched the other day because I felt like watching it. Heavenly Bodies, Made to Order, which I generally watch usually on my birthday every year or around it. My Chauffeur, Down at Beverly Hills, The Long Kiss Goodnight. Yeah, there's the Christmas movie.
Nice.
Staying Alive, not Saturday Night Fever, but Staying Alive, which was just announced for Blu-ray. Yay.
That's right.
Who's That Girl? Thief of Hearts, Something Special, Sing from 1989, Rich Girl, and Night of the Juggler. Those are my go-to
Awesome.
comfort movies.
You just reminded me of something when you said that. I bought the Anchor Bay DVD of Cemetery Man once a long time ago. And the person, because it was very expensive and out of print, and one of those ones where I had to really, kick myself for doing, the seller included a copy of After Hours with it.
Oh,
And he
interesting.
said, I wanted to include something like Cemetery Man, but there's nothing quite like Cemetery Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd just give you something with a little bit of like twisted humor in there. And
Yeah.
I completely forgot that I'd seen that movie before, and I do think it's a good choice for sure. It's unique and fun. So I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of want to watch that again now because that was a long time ago.
It's a New York movie. It's Soho. It's a New York that I remember very well.
That's cool.
Growing up, and I don't know, something about the way Scorsese captures that and the manic energy of it, and the comedy aspect of it, or the
Right.
silliness. And I just I love it. I love those kinds of one night movies, and
Oh, same. Yeah.
Adventures in Babysitting, which is I probably mentioned it.
Oh, that's an awesome
Maybe if I
choice.
didn't mention it, it should be on this list.
Yeah.
Is the teen version of After Hours. It
Right.
was intentionally made that way. So yeah, I just love After Hours. It's a good movie and my
Maybe
favorite Scorsese.
movies that all take place in a night coming soon on the Retro Movie Love podcast.
Yes,
We'll
and there's
see.
been some rumblings recently of a Blu-ray finally for After Hours. I think maybe
Oh, cool. Cool.
Criterion. So that's cool.
Well, speak it into existence, man. You know you've got the power.
All right, so let's get into your number five. Here is the team song.
It's a magic ticket. What would you do?
I'm in the movie.
Who the heck are you?
Don't shoot me. I'm a kid.
If you could join your favorite hero on the big screen.
Yes.
And what would he do?
If I go, how do I get back?
If you brought him to the real world?
Things were different here.
Darn it, that hurt.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Everybody down!
Last action hero. Rated PG-13. The fun begins on June 18th.
All right. So that, of course, is my number five. And let me go ahead and read you off the VHS description. Um, from Columbia TriStar Home Video. Sorry for the stalling here. Action adventure superstar Arnold Schwarzenegger bursts through the screen as a bigger than life movie hero in this nonstop adventure from acclaimed director John McTiernan, Predator and Die Hard fame, of course. So yeah, I'm talking about The Last Action Hero, a movie that probably not a lot of people expected to hear about today on our feel good movie episode. But this is a movie that is not was not very well received. I believe it was kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger's first failure in a way, and uh, I still don't really understand why, because to me it's pretty amazing. I think that it's all about the magic of movies and cinema at its heart, and it covers it in such a loving and knowing and interesting way to me that it just really connected with me as a kid, around the time this came out. And I'd probably been exposed to so many, harder action movies, and at this point in my life, to the point where I was probably even too jaded to realize how great this movie is. But um, it hasn't stopped me from appreciating it and loving it over the years, and just enjoying it more and more with every rewatch. Somehow the older I get, the more I connect to this movie and the time period that it's managed to capture so well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of The Last Action Hero. And I was going to mention it actually opens up on Christmas.
Oh, okay.
The movie within the movie in the opening scene is set on Christmas, to where even the cops that are showing up on this scene, and there's everything's lit up beautifully with the Christmas lights in the background, and you've got the captain, I believe, getting out of the car and saying, oh, this is not how we wanted to spend our Christmas, or something like that. So there you go. It kind of opens up right there. And while the rest of the movie's not a Christmas movie, it is fun that you can kind of sneak it in here. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm a big fan. I love the cast. I think, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger was still prime Arnold Schwarzenegger here, and hot off a lot of huge movies and a lot of success, and still riding high. Interestingly enough, I was gonna say, and I forgot to mention this as an honorable mention, but I debated whether I wanted to include this or another action movie from the same era, Demolition Man.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't even bother rewatching Demolition Man, because once I started rewatching this, I was like, no, as much as I like that and I love it, whatever, this is the feel good movie,
Hmm.
to pick and to highlight here. And in a way, it's even though Demolition Man is kind of a comedy in its own way too, and making fun of a lot of these tropes in its own way, um, this does it in such a clever way that I just really want to give it some credit and some love. I was gonna say, I even wish that the franchise within this movie, the Jack Slater franchise, was real, because I would love to watch all those movies,
Hmm.
as ridiculous and over the top as they seem. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just an awesome movie. It's got like a great kind of point of view character for everybody in the audience, especially kids, to kind of get hooked in with this kid that gets sucked into the world. And I feel like all of us movie nerds can just relate to him and his
Hmm.
love of cinema. I love that there's this beautiful old movie theater there that I'm sure is reminiscent of a lot of the theaters that you would visit growing
Hmm.
up. I'm sure I would imagine, there's something magical about that as well. There's like a sign outside of it at one point that's like coming soon, 9 mega screens or something like that, and it's going to get torn down and made into a megaplex. And it's weird because it's like I'm so sad that I miss out on all these beautiful old movie theaters. I've got to visit a few in my life, but not many. But now it feels like even these megaplexes are in danger. So like I'm like,
Hmm.
it makes me sad because there is something magical, not just about movies, but about going to the movies. That is such a comfort to me. That is
Hmm.
so comforting to me. And even going to see a movie like Violent Night the other night, it was like a Friday night, and there was like maybe 6 people in the theater. It's just a bummer. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something special about it. It's something that I hope we can keep alive, and this movie just really captures all of that in a really fun way for me. Um, and I wanted to give a special shout out, I think, to Charles Dance, who I think is really fun in this, and Tom Noonan, who is very underrated in everything he's in,
Hmm.
and has a really fun, almost unrecognizable role in this. But then you get to see him on the red carpet as Tom Noonan at one point, so that's great. So yeah, I don't know, just a really clever movie. But yeah, I was a little nervous to pick this one because I don't feel like it's very well received, and I was curious to hear how it went over with you and your kids.
Yeah, so I'm trying to. I need to go to my paperwork soon to look up to see what I saw in the theater to remember what I thought of it then. I remember
Sure.
liking it but being underwhelmed by it, maybe,
Right.
or like or not. I had certain expectations of it, and then maybe the movie that I saw as a because 18-year-old wasn't the one that I thought it was going to be, so I wasn't as
Right.
enamored with it. But I didn't revisit that much over the years. Maybe visit it once over the years.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I remember when I revisited it that one time over the years, I enjoyed it more. So I'm gonna watch this with my kids and to see it through their point of view, and hopefully maybe I'll enjoy it even more so this time. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, awesome.
They enjoyed it. They really liked my daughter especially was really into the concept of the kid going into the movie concept.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she's like, when is he gonna go into the movie? Because it does take a little while. Like maybe my issue with this movie, I would say, is the pacing. It does take a little while to get going, considering it's an action movie. But other than that, once it did get going, like when he's inside the movie, it's really entertaining and fun, and just kind of nonstop from there, which is great. And I love the bond between him and Schwarzenegger. I like that this movie is really early version of the what we call the meta movie, right? I don't know
Yeah,
if there are a lot
yeah,
of other major examples before this movie, like as
you're
much
right.
as this movie is. Like
Mhm.
you have Schwarzenegger playing Jack Slater, but also himself. You have a lot of that going on in this movie, in
Yeah,
multiple
this
levels.
is before New Nightmare, before Scream. It's yeah, you're 100% right. Didn't even think of that.
It was kind of surprising while watching it, like how much it's doing that before it became a thing,
Hmm.
really, and how much fun it's having with that. A lot of course, all the cameos from like popular movie characters at the time,
Sharon
and
Stone and Robert Patrick. Yeah.
yeah, I just like seeing like Sharon Stone as Catherine Trammell pop up, and and like different things like that, and this famous actors just showing up in the background sometimes, and or supporting players.
Animated cop voiced by Danny DeVito, I believe.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that was a pretty fun moment. And it's filled with a lot of those moments that you kind of take for granted, I guess, because it's wrapped in this big spectacle movie, but it's actually pretty smart and it's having a
Yeah,
lot of fun, and
I
it's
think
it's
so.
it's a Shane Black script for the most part, and I think there's a lot of really good stuff in it, and yeah, I had a lot of fun really, and I thought
Oh,
Schwarzenegger
that's
like
awesome.
was because like, you could tell he was having a lot of fun too with it.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe this movie was like had just suffered from like being a little ahead of its time.
Yeah, I
For
think so.
93 you were getting pretty good action movies, but more conventional. Like Rennie Harlan did a great one in 93 called Cliffhanger.
Awesome movie.
But that's like a pretty, standard action movie, right? That
It's
you
a
would
Die Hard.
expect.
It's another Die Hard
And it's
clone,
a Die Hard
actually.
clone
Yeah,
too.
but it's a great Die Hard
But
clone.
it's a
So
great one.
yeah, yeah.
This is not Yeah, this is not that. This is not a clone. This is like taking the conventions of action movies and turning them inside out and having
Uh-huh.
fun with them, commenting on them, playing with around with them while they're happening, and
Yeah,
that's of course things in the meta movies that to come we're going to explore. But this was doing it in '93 as a big summer blockbuster movie, and yeah,
exactly.
I was like,
In
I like
fact,
this is a good movie. This is a fun movie.
oh man, it makes me so happy to hear you say that. But I was just gonna say, in fact, not
Yeah,
not
show that
only
off. I'm gonna go look for the paperwork while you do that.
this is the
Oh wow, yeah.
the big ticket for 93 according to the steelbook here. Uh, so yeah, while Meep grabs that paperwork, I'll go ahead and show off the steelbook here. It is the big ticket for 93, the last action hero, and then the back, of course, is this great artwork, which I'm a big fan of. And the more you look at it, the more you see all the little characters in the background and little touches. So I'm a big fan of this one. I love that it's kind of like this promotional image as the cover instead of the beautiful artwork. But yeah, I don't know. I would love to see
Where
more,
was that one
actually.
from? I didn't hear it because I got
Oh, it's just a steelbook. I want to
oh, just
say
Steelbook.
this might have been Zavvi exclusive
Oh,
in
okay.
the UK at one point. There's been like a 4K steelbook since then, but
Hmm.
I'm good with this. So yeah, big fan. I love ACDC. I should mention that.
Oh yeah,
A
that's
lot of
right.
ACDC in here. It's like if you like Maximum Overdrive and you like movies with their music going,
They're good
this
at getting you, like getting the scenes like moving, pumping,
so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really just it's just does such a great job just capturing that era. And like you were saying, maybe you were a little bit too old to kind of it's so funny. It's because like you get too old for certain things, but then you get old enough again to appreciate them. And I feel like I was there. Like I was probably too old to appreciate this and would have rather been watching Cliffhanger or T2 again or something like that, or Total Recall. I don't know, one of those other contemporaries. And like,
Hmm.
but now it's just like, oh, take me back to 93. Let me sit in that theater and just be absorbed by this movie and its magic. So yeah.
So I was looking at my list of '93, and I saw a lot of movies in the theater in '93, more than '92, which I
Oh
talked
wow.
about on the '92
Yeah,
podcast. I just
you're
wrapped
gonna
it
get
up.
into 93 next year,
But
right?
'93, I saw even more than '92 somehow in theaters, and so Last Action Hero was in the summer, June, so it was the big ticket for June,
Right.
and I
Like I
did see
said.
it, and here it is. Yeah, so I'm going to hold it up to the screen for those of you who are listening.
Uh,
So you see Last Action Hero. I gave I don't know if you could quite see it, three
you
stars
see 3 stars, yeah.
and a B. So I gave it
That's
three
good.
stars.
That's
Actually,
better
that's a
than I
true
would
review.
expect
Yeah,
from 18-year-old Meep
yeah.
coming off of all of his
I mean,
grindhouse
it's just as good. Like
movies.
Jurassic Park, right above it, which I just seen right before it. Three
Uh,
and a half stars.
oh, that's awesome
Super
that you
Mario
put
Brothers, which I saw in the theater, 3 stars. So I was maybe a little kind, but I gave Super Mario Brothers a B minus, but I gave Last Action Hero a B. So there you go.
You were being very generous, I'd
I
say.
was
You
pretty
were in a
generous that
good
summer.
mood. Something good was going on
It
in
was
your life
summer, summer.
there.
It was the summer I was turning 18. I
Oh,
wasn't
that's
quite.
awesome.
because in August I turn 18, so this is
That's
June.
awesome, man. Oh no, that's so cool. It sounds like you were on board. You were ahead of the
Yeah,
game.
I was enjoying it. So, but I feel like I again maybe took it for granted, didn't watch it that much over the years, and didn't think about it as much as an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, even though it's very much like his movie. And
It's totally forgotten though. You're right. I mean,
yeah,
no one brings it up. No one talks about it. Yeah.
it's interesting, and I just love well watching this on this viewing. Of course, it's like the kid's from New York City kid, and
Mhm.
he's watching these movies in Times Square theaters, which
Yeah,
of course,
he gets mugged or robbed, I guess.
yeah,
Like the
that
first.
part seemed pretty like standard Hollywood make New York City look terrible kind of thing,
Wait,
which
you're saying that didn't happen to you?
it never happened to me, guys. But he's spending all his time in these Times Square theaters, which I did as a
Yeah.
kid.
The cops just send him home after that too, and he goes to
Uh,
the movie.
yeah,
Nobody's supposed to
he's
pick
cutting
him
out
up.
of school all the time to go see movies, which I could relate to. And
Yeah.
one of the theaters, the exteriors of the theaters were the theaters I went to for sure.
Right,
The
right.
interior, I think, is actually a big movie palace in LA called the Orpheum, which I
I
think
think so.
which shows like a venue is a venue now still, which shows the
Yeah.
maybe shows like live shows and stuff. But the exteriors were theaters like the RKO Water Twin, where they're having a premiere in one of the scenes. That was a theater I went to all the time. So a lot of those theaters I went to all the time on the exterior when they showed the actual exteriors, which was like and by 93 they were pretty run down, but I think around this time I was like that's probably when I stopped going because they were getting too shitty.
Right. No,
And
I
the
hear you.
presentations like 92 I remember seeing like Wayne's World a couple of times in Times Square theaters and Ladybugs and a few things. In 93, only maybe a couple of things. And then I would just go to other theaters like in New York City that, they were, the presentation was better and the sound was better. And just that Times Square was really, on its last legs. And this
It's
movie,
funny.
yeah, explores that a little bit.
Right. Oh no, for sure. I was gonna say it's funny because the New York scenes, that's something you could definitely point out for sure. But it's also like a very LA movie, which there's like a lot of very
Mhm.
familiar filming locations to me,
Yeah.
and I kind of like how it covers both coasts. I was trying to see if I could find which, because when you mentioned the theater, I know I've been there. Yeah, you're right. Interior says Orpheum Theater. I know I've been there before, but I can't remember. I might have, you know what? I might have seen John Carpenter in concert there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think he might have
Yeah,
played
if I'm
there
not
actually.
mistaken. I know I've been there before, but I'll have
Yeah.
to remember what it was for. But no, that's awesome.
I have a few like marquees of when the Orpheum was a real movie theater back in the day.
Oh,
I
very
haven't come
cool.
across them. Used to be a pretty cool looking theater.
Yeah, you can see how many seats there are in there when he's
Yeah,
sitting there. So that's
pretty
pretty
big.
cool. Yeah.
So yeah, starting off with a comfort movie about a movie theater is all right with me.
No, I thought you would appreciate that aspect of it for sure, but I'm glad you kind of gelled with the rest of the movie too.
Oh yeah,
That's cool, and
for
I do
sure.
feel like this is a movie, that kids like your kids especially will appreciate, just that whole magic of movies, and that's great. I'm so glad to hear it being passed along, almost 20 years. No, what am I saying? 30 years.
30 years next year.
Yeah, 30 years later.
Do you feel old now?
Oh, I feel very old. Maybe there's no question about it.
They got a kick
Uh,
out of Charles Dance with his glass eye.
yeah, it's such a fun
Um,
gimmick, such a Bond movie thing.
yeah, it's definitely you're definitely feeling that Bond thing going on there with that.
There's some random. I'll throw this out, I guess, before we move on. I remember hearing something, and I should have looked this up about how they wanted Alan Rickman, I believe, for the
Huh,
role
I can see
and
that.
couldn't afford him. And then Charles Dance had a T-shirt that said something like "more affordable Alan Rickman" or something
Yeah,
like that.
I
Uh,
yeah.
But I think
I
he's awesome. I'm a fan. He should have done more stuff, but he was good in everything he was
oh yeah,
in.
he's still like,
Golden
I mean,
Child and everything.
he's been doing, like, he's been on Game of Thrones. He's been doing a lot of
Yeah, he's still
British
getting
stuff.
some
Yeah,
love for sure, as he should.
as he should. All right, so that was Last Action Hero. Here is my number 5. I'm gonna play a VHS spot for this one.
Tired of good girls?
Good night, Charlie.
Ready for some real excitement?
Go bowling.
Bowling?
Looking for someone incredibly seductive?
Do you know how to use your lips, Charlie?
Then this is your lucky night.
Welcome to Fright Night.
Fright Night 2. One taste is never enough.
Come kiss me.
Enter a world where each embrace takes your breath away,
Maybe it's the pheromone, Charlie.
and every kiss is a killer.
You can say that again, partner.
Roddy McDowell,
Hurts.
William Ragsdale.
Do you mind if I borrow these?
If you thought one was fun, wait till you do 2. Fright Night 2. Apparently the suckers are back.
Okay, that's Fright Night Part 2. I'm going to read off the back of the IVE VHS box. Welcome to Fright Night Part 2. Peter Vincent, Roddy McDowell, the Great Vampire Killer, and Charlie Brewster, William Ragsdale, are back in the long-awaited sequel to the box office smash hit Fright Night. And so are the bloodthirsty creatures of the night. Charlie has met Regine Dandridge, Julie Carmen, an exotic, heart-stopping beauty with a deadly taste for things warm and red. He can't stop thinking about her, dreaming about her. Not even Charlie's girlfriend, Alex, Tracy Lynn, nor Peter Vincent can keep him from being mesmerized by her fatally seductive powers. As the irresistible Regine drains the blood from his veins, Charlie is suddenly jolted by the spine-shingling reality that there are only one thing more terrifying than fighting vampires: becoming one. Director Tommy Lee Wallace, Halloween 3, has surpassed the fright of the original film to create a tantalizing shocker in Fright Night Part 2. This time, the suckers are more than blood. They want more than blood. They want revenge. All right. Thank you, IVE, International Video Entertainment. I love you.
That's a great description.
I've always loved the IVE label. Unfortunately, they went away not long after Fright Night Part 2 in the late 80s. So Fright Night Part 2 came to theaters briefly, which I saw it in 1989. It didn't make much of a splash in theaters, which is surprising because Friday Night Part 1 was such a hit. I think maybe it suffered from like having a sequel 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Might have heard it. I think it also suffered from a studio that wasn't doing well. And they went under. They became another entity after Fright Night Part 2. They folded up and became that's what led this movie to have some really messy rights to it,
right.
Where it's still not available on a legit Blu-ray in the US, sadly, because of that. Something about the way this movie was marketed. It had a good trailer. It had, but it wasn't pushed as a theatrical movie. So I think it was more pushed as a VHS movie. Mm-hmm. Which is, sad because the first one was such a memorable movie going experience for me. but I
Yeah.
enjoyed it in the theater. But I think that's where I really found my love and appreciation for it. It was multiple times on video.
Right.
This IV box that I just read. I mean, it's just really, it gave me everything I wanted for a sequel at the time, and more so, I think, in a way, than I was hoping for, because it ups the ante in terms of the horror. There's comedy aspect in it that I like, of course, when it comes to these movies. Mixing the horror and the comedy together is not always successful. It's a really hard balancing
Yeah,
act.
for sure.
Many unsuccessful horror comedies have been made over the years, but I don't know, something about the way Friday Night 1 and 2 does it. They makes me happy, because I love both, horror and comedies. When they can do it together really well, I'm there. But then you have like the actors coming back, like Roddy McDowall and William Ragsdale, um, and just having their chemistry back together, which is just enough for me. But then the movie adds like the Regine character, and then Tracy Lynn is on board as the girlfriend this time, and I don't know. They Tommy Lee Wallace goes out of his way to make these characters interesting. Even like her gang of misfits are interesting,
Yeah.
when they could have been just pretty stock villains. Where she could have been the central focal point, and then the ones around her kind of like boring, whatever, henchmen. But they're all kind of weird and interesting in their own way, which I like, and they're all very different from each other, which I also like too. And
Absolutely.
so it kind of like it adds an element that the first movie didn't have, where like a group of bad people, and you had the Chris Sarandon character, which is so great in the first movie, but then you had Evil Ed, only had Evil Ed really, and then you had and also a benign kind of helper character that he had as well. But here you have all these interesting villains, and one of them is like
Yeah.
almost like a werewolf character,
Yeah, it's almost like a mini monster squad kind of thing
which
going
is
on.
fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's clearly they're having fun with the concepts, adding to it, adding to the mythology, and then I don't know. It could have been just like it could have been a very simple case of just repeating of what works in the first movie, and that's it. But I think Tommy Lee Wallace wisely added more elements to it
Yeah.
to make it something else, and he was really good at doing that. Of course, when you watch the movie they decided on the back of the box, Halloween 3, like it could have
Yeah.
been just a repeat of what worked before, but no, it became its own thing, and it had a lot of fun
Beautifully
with it.
so. Yeah.
And so Friday Night Part 2 was pretty special in that sequel pantheon. It was something that was kind of unique, like a sequel that really works. I wouldn't say go out of my way and say it's like a much better movie than one. It's not, but it's its own thing too. At the same time, I love it just as much as the original, and there's very few sequels I'll say that about. Certainly horror sequels too. I don't know. I just I go back to it a lot, and have the Artisan the DVD, which was the same artwork as the VHS, but it was a bad transfer, like a standard. They did a bad
Right.
job with it. I think this is pretty out of print too, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's hard to find these days, from what I remember.
It's an okay transfer.
Yeah.
So I had to find through nefarious means a Blu-ray which has an HD transfer.
Awesome.
Because I love this movie so much, so I got something. But it's hard. It's a hard movie to get your hands on in general, because it's the rights are so messy. So until then, I will hold on to these copies. This is interesting because it has like I think it has like the documentary that was on the Arrow Blu-ray, maybe.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Or part 2.
I remember something about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on here as well. So you get to see more information about Fright Night Part 2, the making of Fright Night Part 2, and retrospective interviews and stuff as well. Yeah, I just think it's a good looking movie, like the first movie. It's shot in that 2:3:5 aspect ratio that I like a lot. It's anamorphic. It looks really good. So the DVD kind of suffers from that because it doesn't have that. So that transfer helps seeing it that way. It has a good look to it,
It does.
and kind of a little bit unlike movies of the late '80s. A little bit, it has its own vibe to it. Um, yeah, I really like it a lot. That's why it's my number five. What's your take on it?
Sure. So I definitely watched the first Fright Night a lot more growing up.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you kind of what my memories of Fright Night 2 were, the things that stuck with me. I'll say three things probably. One was Tracy Lind, who I've mentioned probably many times on this show that
Mhm.
I had a huge crush on her growing up.
Same.
And I definitely remembered her. I think that I'd confused this with maybe Waxworks too, where I thought she was a recast of the same girlfriend from the original in my mind. At some point, I seem to remember something about that, which isn't the case. The other things that stuck with me were Brian Thompson, of course, being the a great kind of character actor. I don't know if you call him a character actor, but he a great actor from that era who was the villain in Cobra and in an awesome movie I like called Hired to Kill, where he's a hero, and in this it's like kind of strange because you have this like really imposing actor here, and he's playing like kind of like a almost like a Renfield kind of to these vampires. And the thing that I remembered again as a kid was him eating bugs and being
Yep.
really grossed out by that.
Yep.
Being really grossed out by him just picking moths off of lamps and stuff during the movie. Maybe it grossed me out enough to where I didn't go back to it as much, even. I don't know why. I feel like it was just one of those things that really stuck with me. And then the last thing I will say, which I think is still a standout, that I always remembered about this movie was the bowling scene, with the villains going bowling. And for some reason, I always thought that was really fun and cool, and just one of those touches that you don't get a lot with these like kind of side characters, basically. So yeah, it's a movie. Since then, I've definitely watched it a few more times than that, and I'm a fan. As much as I love Tracy Lind, I do think Julie Carmen is like kind of the standout here.
Hmm.
She has like a fun role. It's interesting how they make her kind of this performance artist, and she
Hmm.
gets to do some interesting things with that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting for sure. I do love Tommy Lee Wallace. Obviously, I'm obsessed with the Halloween 3, and I think he's very talented and should have gotten more opportunities to do more things like this. I think outside of Halloween 3 and Fright Night 2 and maybe the It miniseries, I can't think of a lot of his movies off the top of my head, which is sad because I think he's great. And I think you could tell there's a lot of talent behind the camera here. It's not easy to kind of follow up with someone like Tom Holland, who we both always speak pretty highly of on here, and I think he does a good job. I think this movie has a style and a feel to it, and it's anything but generic. You can
Hmm.
definitely say that. So yeah, it's a fun sequel. I think I might love like the concept of the original and the just kind of everything about that more with that whole rear window vibe and everything that it had. It was just really fun, but
Hmm.
it I don't think you could have done the same thing twice. So I'm glad they did something different here,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of fun with it. I do have an import for this one. It's
Mhm.
actually uh, I have two. I have a hard box somewhere if I didn't sell it that has that original artwork, which is great, and that's a DVD with a decent transfer, not great. And then I do have a media book with this artwork.
Nice.
This is from 2016, though. It's not even that old. And for whatever reason, the Blu-ray disc started giving me a hard time last time I
Oh
watched
no.
it, and I had to finish it on the DVD disc, which it comes with both,
That's too bad.
thankfully. And I don't know if it's my player, which might be on its last legs, so I got to figure that out. But that kind of bummed me out because it's like you said, it's not something that you could just go, oh well, I'll pick up another copy. It's a hard movie
Yeah,
to
it's
get your
probably not
hands on.
streaming very easily. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. It should be more available than it is.
Yeah, I hope hopefully I think someone will untangle the rights to this one.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, the things we're seeing get worked out these days. It's, it should happen, but I'm glad you picked it because I hadn't seen it for a while, and it's a really fun movie. So yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
good
mean
one.
it brings me a lot of joy because it's it's Fright Night Part Two. It's so I call this category. And I have them all in each in a category. And I call my five choices the comfort of sequels.
Yes,
Because
yeah,
sequels
that's
to me
right.
are always pretty comforting.
Well said, buddy.
All right, let's get to your number four. Here is the TV spot.
Get ready to have a happy day. Kenny and Company are coming your way. They're on the move and on the go. When you're 11, every day is special. Kenny and Company, rated PG.
All right, a heartwarming movie about growing up in the 70s from the director of The Beastmaster, Bubba Hotep, and the Phantasm series. Before he made hit movies about flying demon spheres, sword-wielding heroes, or Elvis battling mummies, Don Coscarelli wrote and directed this charming family film about 4 days in the life of a 12-year-old boy named Kenny. It's a world of best friends and neighborhood bullies, cherry bombs and skateboards, learning the facts of life and understanding the pain of loss, having a crush on the prettiest girl in school, and getting ready for the greatest night of the year, Halloween. Future Phantasm stars Reggie Bannister and Michael Baldwin lead a cast of unknown yet gifted young actors in this delightful time capsule of 1970s suburbia. For anyone who's ever played flag football, made a class project with paper mache, built a plywood rocket ship in the garage, or remembers the everyday magic of being young, this is your life. Welcome to the world of Kenny and Company. And that's actually a really well-written description by Anchor Bay, who I always try to champion here. And this, of course, is the Anchor Bay DVD for Kenny and Company, the movie I am talking about. That is my number four comfort movie today. Kenny and Company is a movie I don't think I grew up with, but I found it at some point in my life and was just really drawn in by the charm of it, especially the fact that it centered so much around Halloween. And it's definitely become like a yearly watch for me. Probably every October, I would say, just kind of feels right. Um, I think there's something really sweet and innocent about the way it kind of captures a simpler time. And gosh, maybe that's a theme going here with some of the things I was saying about the Last Action Hero as well. But this is a very different time. This is the 70s, and you get to see this side of life in Long Beach, California, before it became what it is now. And the way it's kind of presented here as just any town USA in like this really charming way. I don't know, there's something about it that's just really cool. I feel like it's gotten to the point where even little flaws in the movie, like the really obvious skateboarding stunt doubles in some scenes
Yeah,
that are like
adults.
probably like 15 years older than the kids they're supposed to be playing. Even stuff like that has become really like a bonus to me somehow, just because of how much I love this movie. I showed it to my family this year. I watched it. My daughter really loved it. She loved all the pranks these kids were playing. She's really
Mhm.
big on pranks. In fact, we bought some fake poop the other day when we were when we were at a store, and had a lot of fun pranking everybody with that. So she just was really into this one, and unfortunately, we started a little late, so she fell asleep. But we kept watching, and even my mom loved this movie, and just the way it kind of
Mhm.
captured that era and that time. So I don't know. It's just something really special about Kenny and Company. I feel like you've done a really good job giving this movie its flowers over the years too. You're one of the few people I could think of that I know has does mention it and speak highly of it, which I love. Um, I think that more than anything, not besides the fact that it does such a good job with just kind of school and heartache and even the loss of a pet and all these beautiful things that it covers so well. um I think the thing that draws me to it the most is the way it depicts Halloween and the build up to Halloween and the night of Halloween, and something about that, it's just magic for me for sure. And um you don't get a lot of movies like this. Like I was kind of talking about it with my mom while we were watching. I was like, doesn't it feel like you're watching like a whole season of the Wonder Years or something, just like in one movie? uh
Mhm.
and it does, like it just kind of, it gives you everything you could possibly want. um so yeah, I don't know. Before I get too sappy, I'll just say it's a lot of fun. It really, really warms my heart. Big comfort movie for sure. And I know you've talked about it before, I'm sure, but I'd love to hear you talk about it more. What do you think about Kenny and
I
Company?
mean, it's such a special movie. It really is. I mean, very few movies capture childhood in such a way like this movie does, in such an honest way and
Yeah,
magical way, and a way that doesn't condescend to these kids. It really feels like a kid is making this movie in a way.
yeah, yeah,
Someone is really connected to these kids, like how it feels like they really understands what they're going through, what understands all the little details and moments and how important they are to when you're that age. Um, there's very few kids movies or kid oriented movies that do that. I feel like movies have gotten certainly more cynical over the years, and more manufactured feeling. And
yeah,
this was a time when movies could still feel pretty real and capture that, but also be fun at the same time.
yeah,
Kenny and Company is a complete package of that, and it always never fails to move me when I watch it. Um, you get caught up in just those little moments. It's not really big. There's not big stuff in it like that's heavy duty drama. There's
hmm,
moments though, and real moments, and
yeah,
they face real like problems and effects of of things and actions and so on. But it really he really definitely handled it, and you can see why he would go on to make movies that had sometimes kid actors in them, because he was so good at handling them in this movie.
yeah, for sure.
I feel like maybe he should have capitalized on that even more in his career as a filmmaker, Don Coscarelli, because he did so well with Kenny and Company. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's such a special movie. It warms my heart like it does you every time I watch it. I discovered it late. I mean, it was not available until the DVD, like the Anchor Bay DVD.
Yeah,
So that was the first time it showed up on a home video, unless you
that's
had seen it
right.
in the theater in the 70s, which is I wasn't around. I was one when it came out. It was in 76. So I had not seen it into that DVD, and it was when I picked it up when it came out, and I'm like, wow, this is a Don Coscarelli movie. Okay, I never heard of it. I'll watch it, and I was completely blown away from the beginning. And
Yeah,
every time I've watched it over the years since then, I'm like, wow, this is just as good and better and better and then better each time. And I picked up the poster
Oh,
at
that's a
some point.
great
I think I had
poster.
it on my wall not too long ago for Halloween this year. I
Very cool.
watched the movie for Halloween with my kids. It was
Oh,
their first time
awesome.
seeing it, like much like you did, and they were actually totally in love with this movie because it's like kids being kids and doing kid things
Hmm.
in honest ways, and they totally enjoyed that, and they got to see kids do dangerous things in the 70s.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, hey, this is what kids were doing back then. They were doing some
Oh, for
pretty
sure.
crazy stunts that weren't
Yep.
always like pretty smart. And yeah, and they were like, what? Every time it was blowing their minds, like every scene really of what was
Yeah.
going on. And the Halloween stuff, my kids love Halloween, so they just really appreciate that this movie devotes its time and, like you said, build up to Halloween, which is important because more so than Halloween, for us people who love Halloween, it's the anticipation of Halloween, it's the build up, the
Yeah.
lead up to Halloween, which is
It
important
really
to
is.
us.
Uh-huh.
And this movie gets that, where very few movies do that. And yeah, it's just a special movie. Then it's Long Beach on top of it, which is a place that I lived for almost 2 years,
Exactly. That's
and I got
right.
to
Yeah.
see what Long Beach was like back in the 70s, and which is really cool. And I'm like, oh yeah, when they're go karting or whatever down that big hill, that's Signal Hill. Like, oh yeah, we live actually not that far from there,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And yeah, it was cool to see some of those locations and all the oil things that were in the background, which I had to
Yeah.
drive by all the time while living
Yeah.
in Long Beach. Yeah, it was like a kind of a magical time of 70s of for kids movies. These like kids movies that were pretty honest, and they became
Yeah.
their own thing in the 80s. I'm not saying a bad way, because I know it'd be easy to dismiss like most kid movies from the 80s for being kind of more manufactured Hollywood things, but I happen to enjoy and love a lot of those movies.
Same. Yeah.
But it's a different kind of kid film. It's a movie adults could appreciate just as much. And I like that you watch it with your family and
Exactly.
like of different generations, and they're all everyone's
Yeah.
enjoying it in their own way. That's amazing. It
Yeah.
speaks a lot to it. And if this was available on Blu-ray, I feel like a whole new generation would be exposed to it. Not
Yeah.
just rely on us movie nerds who happen to have out of print DVDs of it to show it to our family members. We need to have younger people who have easy access to this movie so they can discover it for themselves and show it to their
For sure.
friends and say, this is a piece of history nearly 50 years ago, what it was like to be in California of a certain time and as a kid, and by a
Yeah.
esteemed horror director. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the rights are with 20th Century Fox, Disney, and Disney doesn't care about this sort of
Ah,
thing,
that's
and
right. Yeah.
that's why it's not available. But
Gosh, you would think they would remaster this and put it on Disney Plus, even, right? They have
they
a lot of
probably
their
wouldn't,
cool
because
movies on
they
there.
probably think it's too dangerous, because kids might want to copy some of the stunts they
Oh
do,
yeah, they'll have some
like
disclaimer or
you watch
something.
that trailer, that teaser, even it's like kids are jumping through fire, like it's
Oh,
like
it's awesome.
on a
Yeah.
skateboard. So it's like, yeah, maybe not advisable to repeat some
Well,
of these
just make
things,
it
but
a good enough transfer where you could tell it's clearly not a kid in most of
yeah, it's a
the
30-year-old man.
Yeah,
It's Tony Hawk. I don't know, someone.
exactly. It's a young Tony Hawk.
It's a
Oh
great
no.
it's a great movie, and I love it. I love that it's on your
For
list.
sure. It's funny because I forgot you're right that it just wasn't available because I was thinking like I didn't see this until I started tracking down all those Anchor Bay DVDs. But you're right, there was no way I could have saw this growing up. So that's so strange that movies can just disappear like that, and it makes you appreciate physical media and the access that we have even more. Streaming as well to an extent. When they're not butchering things and they're making things available as they were intended. But yeah, so I don't know that it's just an awesome movie. I'm so glad I get to talk about it on here because it is a big comfort movie for me for sure, and I look forward to it every year.
Love it. It's huge in Japan, by the way. I think it might even be a Japanese maybe Blu-ray. I don't know. There might be. You have to kind of hunt
I
it down because it
think
was a
you're
big.
right.
It was a very big movie there.
I think you're right.
Back in that time period, Japanese were obsessed with American culture. It was very much a California culture, and I think I remember the actors had a tour in Japan when this movie
That's
came
right.
out. So
I remember
there's a
reading a book
generation
on.
of Japanese people who worship this movie. So it's kind of
That's
amazing.
right. Totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, maybe it'll be available there. All right, here is a TV spot for my number 4.
They hunted him down, murdered his friends, and took the only thing he would kill for.
You gotta cooperate, right? Wrong.
Now, somewhere, somehow, someone's gonna pay.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last? I lied.
The odds are unbeatable, but he's unstoppable. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Commando.
Let's party.
Rated R. Starts tomorrow at a theater near you.
Yeah, that's Commando. So I'm reading off the back of the. I love the CBS Fox video VHS tapes. They're so good. You're like comforting right there when you look at a CBS Fox video, like right there.
For sure.
I'm just gonna read off the caption underneath the pictures in the back of the box. It's like Schwarzenegger with Ray Don Chung, and then of course Schwarzenegger holding his daughter, little Alyssa Milano. Says, take something from Arnold Schwarzenegger and he'll get it back his way. Color, 1985. Arnold Schwarzenegger dominates this blockbuster mix of action and offbeat humor as Colonel John Matrix, ultimate soldier and one-man army. Matrix used to be the leader of a special commando strike force that always got the toughest jobs done. Now he's retired and living under a new identity with his 11-year-old daughter, Jenny. But an old enemy wants him for one more job. To bend Matrix to his will, he takes Jenny hostage. Standing behind Matrix and Jenny is an array of punks, killers, one of his own ex-commandos, and a fully equipped private army. Matrix figures the odds are even. He does have the help of Cindy, Radon Chung, a feisty stewardess he happens to abduct along the way, and General Kirby, who trained him. But Kirby is always one step behind, and Matrix has only hours before they'll send Jenny back to him in pieces. When the pressure's on, Matrix only gets tougher, and nothing's going to stop him now. Heaven help anyone who gets in his way. 90 minutes, color.
That's great.
90 minutes. That is the key.
Yes.
90 minutes, guys. An action movie could be 90 minutes long. We live in a world where there are 3-hour movies. So Commando, which I saw in the theater, of course, and was immediately taken by it. I had seen Terminator, knew of Arnold Schwarzenegger as an action, burgeoning action star, but this was the movie that really kind of launched him into that. Commando, because he was fully the star of the movie. He's headlining it. It's his big picture on the cover. It's him with his buff muscles and decked out in his commando gear. It's like tagline, "Let's party." I remember that being on the poster. That's of course one of his taglines, one of his many taglines in this movie. It had everything you wanted, right, in that kind of action movie, because it's Schwarzenegger, and he's gonna get like it says, he's gonna get the job done, right? So take that with a personal story of him trying to get revenge, to get his daughter back. And it becomes a nonstop chase movie from there. Him trying to work against the clock. I think it's like he has like a little watch, right? That's telling him that it's a countdown to get to his daughter and save her. So it becomes almost like a video game of him trying to.
It's one of those running clock things, yeah.
Yeah, him trying to survive, him trying to get to certain people. and to take them out one by one until he gets to to the final level, to the final battle, in the big house with the big inevitable showdown, like there was in every 80s movie. um and yeah, it's exactly everything, yeah, you want in a routine action movie, but heightened because it's a Schwarzenegger action movie. Action is crazy, it's over the top, it's him taking out bad guys left and right, impossible ways almost. How he could fight like a not just one person, two people, three people, like a group of people at the same
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
um
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
his strength is like immeasurable. It seems almost superhero-esque.
So over the top.
It's over
Yeah.
the top. It's amazing to watch because
Uh,
it's done in this very violent action format. And it's not parodying anything, it's taking it fairly seriously, but
plays it pretty straight, yeah.
yeah, it's playing straight, but there's doses of comedy, especially when Radon Chung enters the picture
Yeah.
as a sidekick in a way. Hopefully love story blossoming there, and it's never hinted at in this movie, but I like to think that there would be. um yeah, I don't know, I just find it really charming and entertaining. I think Schwarzenegger is really fun to watch. I like his quips and one-liners. I like the way he disposes
Oh
of bad
gosh.
guys left and right in this movie in fun ways, unique ways. The movie never fails to like find a new way to kill somebody, when it's not blowing somebody up or just like shooting, spraying bullets everywhere. But there's others, he does it in really some really fun ways. And yeah, when I saw this in 85, it's like I really felt like, yeah, there were a lot of good action movies at the time, but I felt like I've really just really fell in love with action movies while watching Commando. My grandmother really helped define that love for action movies with me because she was really big into them as well. And certainly we'd watch Commando a lot on VHS together, and that really cemented my love for it. And I just go back to it a lot. It's a really easy watch. That's why it's my comfort list, because it's so comfortable, it's so fun. I know exactly what I'm gonna get out of it each time, and it gives it to me. And yeah, I just yeah, very memorable, colorful characters show up and bad guys, and I can go into exactly everything, but I kind of want to hear uh, what Commando is for you. Or,
Sure. So, no, it's so funny that we were just talking about, Last Action Hero, and uh the movie franchise within that world, those Jack Slater movies. Arnold never really did anything like that. That was like almost more of like a some kind of stylized version, even more stylized version of like a Lethal Weapon movie or something from the look of it.
right.
But what he did do was Commando, which is as over the top as those Jack Slater
That's
movies
true.
appear to be. And it's all the better for it. I mean, I've talked about this is Mark Lester, right? Yeah, I've
Mark L.
talked
Lester,
about
yeah.
I've
What?
talked about my love of him before, and I'm a big fan of class of 1984, 99, a million of his movies. But I um I think this one might be the ultimate I don't know, action movie in some ways. Like it's like the if you want to show someone like an example of like an 80s action movie and you want them to really get a feel for all those things that we loved about them, like this might be the one.
Mhm.
The one-liners in particular, it's like you while you were speaking, I was kind of looking at some of the ones I wrote down and just kind of laughing to myself, like like, oh, don't disturb my friend here, he's dead tired. And when you were reading the VHS description about gosh, I'm blanking now, the general or whoever that's always behind and he's got to go first, that I love that line too, the what like what'd you leave for us or whatever. He's like, just bodies. And I'm not doing them justice, but Arnold does, thankfully, and they're so funny and so well done. um, and there's so many of them, and I feel like this is a movie that has like really good casting too, because even like henchman characters and stuff like that like are just really memorable and really stand out. And I think that it was just kind of lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways. Like they kind of got Arnold at the right time in his career too, to do a role like this, and I feel like it really kind of showed what you could do with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it exists. I'm very glad it exists. So this is a movie that makes me very happy too. I totally can see it as a comfort action movie, and I had a media book for this, but I want to say I might have sold it at some point. I did pick up this. This is called a
Oh,
tape
that's
edition.
nice.
Now this was an
I love
awesome
that.
company that I was really high on because they were releasing 20th Century Fox titles in like this really cool collectible package.
Yeah.
So it looks like a VHS. They're numbered, and then they would always do the original artwork. They wouldn't mess with that, which is great. Unless they actually did a few modern movies that they gave like this VHS kind of packaging to. This is what it's like inside.
Oh wow. Like a
Yeah,
VHS.
yeah, and then you get to the disc.
Ah, that's so cool.
And unfortunately, I feel like the pandemic just kind of killed this company off because
Oh, it's too
they just
bad.
kind of went away, and it's really sad because I loved what they were doing.
So
Um,
cool.
so yeah, I don't know. When you were talking about the VHS for this too, it kind of made me smile because I'm getting that feel a little bit from this, at least, with German writing on the back, but something. But yeah, like this was a video store favorite, I think. Fright Night 2 was as well, another one you were mentioning, but I feel like this was one I probably, rented a dozen times growing up, and um, just a great movie. So much fun. And it's violent, of course,
Mhm.
but I do feel like you could show this to a younger audience and they'd get a kick out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
like I said, it's like a video. It feels like a video game in a way because it's like
It does. It
just
really
offing
does.
off bad guys, almost like in
Yeah,
levels to get to the next level to get to the finally get to the bad.
it's
Get Vernon
exactly.
Wells.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
in
out of
his
box fight.
mesh in his mesh
Yeah. Oh my
whatever
gosh.
he's wearing.
So ridiculous. Yeah, so ridiculous, but it's a ridiculous movie in the best way possible. So yeah,
My
I'm a big fan. Big thumbs up for me.
my theory for all the one-liners, because there's like a lot of them in this movie,
A
are
lot.
it's because he's a dad, so it's dad jokes in a way.
You know what? I think you might be onto something there. Yeah. I think you
He
might be
wasn't
onto
playing. This is
something.
his first time playing a dad, as
It
far as I
was,
can
right?
remember in a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like his dad jokes.
This was him getting ready for Jingle All the Way, guys.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
we only knew, that's what, yeah. But no, awesome, awesome for sure. I'm so
I,
glad you
so
brought
I
this
had
up.
the VHS, and then I had a DVD, which was with the director's cut from 20th Century Fox. But then I upgraded it to this.
I think I had that same DVD.
So
Oh,
this
right.
this is the
Very
Blu-ray with
cool.
the director's cut. So
Awesome.
I want to have the director's cut. I want to have like the full
As you should, absolutely.
the full enchilada. And then
Uh-huh.
I also have this thing, which is the three Schwarzenegger movies on one,
Oh, all great. Yeah, that's awesome.
just to have it.
Yeah.
All
Um,
right.
very
Commando.
cool.
Yeah, I love to go Commando.
In honor of Commando, we are both doing this episode Commando. So
Exactly.
there you go. That's some TMI.
All right. So that's our top fours. We'll take a little break. So I'll add a little something in here. We'll be back right after this.
You can feel the wind is rising, baby. running through the mystic night, running till they take us away, take us away, take us away. Big trouble in little China. We got big trouble here in little China. You can feel the wind is rising, baby. Now the truth is here. Out of the darkness coming, baby. All the things you fear. We better run, running through the mystic night, running through the rolling fire, running through the burning blaze, running through the calling snake, running through the midnight rain, running till they take us away, take us away, take us away. Big trouble in little China. We got big trouble in little China. We got big trouble in little China.
And we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's get into your number threes.
Doyle? Yes? Dad can't be with you, honey. He has to go to Europe.
Doyle's dad wasn't much of a father,
Is Mr. Standish in? He's sleeping.
but his mother was in love with the next best thing.
Let me go down and get him.
Dutch.
I'm a friend of your mother's. I came to bring you home. Oh!
They've only just met, and already they get along like family.
What do you like to do for fun? You like to wiggle and grunt. Me too.
So you and Doyle are getting along well.
Come on, give it to me, pipsqueak. We're getting along just great.
20th Century Fox presents
I'm a working class nobody, and I don't take any lip from kiddies.
Hello.
the story of a boy who lost the child in himself and the man who helped him find it. Dutch.
Okay, sugar, what'll it be?
What won't make me vomit?
Rated PG-13. Special sneak preview Saturday night at theaters everywhere.
All right. In order to familiarize themselves with the route that characters Dutch and Doyle take as they drive from Atlanta to Chicago, the producers and director Peter, that I am reading a VHS description. Don't be confused. The directors, the producers and director Peter Feynman flew to Atlanta and rented a car. Exploring the country's back roads proved invaluable to Feynman,
What is that?
who incorporated much of the America he saw into Dutch. What is this?
It's so weird.
In John Hughes' big-hearted comedy, blue-collar businessman Dutch Dooley, played by Ed O'Neill, offers to retrieve his girlfriend, Jo Beth Williams' snobbish blue-blooded son Doyle, Ethan Randall. Ethan Randall, that always gives me a kick to that name. From school and drive him home for Thanksgiving. The perfectly mismatched duo soon find themselves on a hilarious cross-country adventure where their ongoing battle of wills ensures that virtually nothing goes right. But the sheltered young Doyle ultimately returns home with a true education thanks to Dutch. He's discovered what the real world is all about. And that is a ridiculous VHS description from 20th Century Fox. I feel like the producer just really wanted people to know that he did that.
Jeez, yeah, it's so weird.
or the director and the producers in this case. But yeah, that's Dutch, and I do have the Anchor Bay DVD here as well, and I probably would have been better off reading that from. Oh yeah, this one even mentions fireworks fiascos, hitchhiking with hookers. Yeah, this this might have been the way to go in this case, but we like going retro, so we'll go with the VHS. Dutch is a movie that it's funny. We're talking about holidays here, and I know I covered we touched on Christmas, of course, and I covered a Halloween comfort movie with Kenny and Company. This is like a Thanksgiving comfort movie to me. It's also a road movie, which is like a whole genre that is like a comfort thing to me. And we've covered many of those. We did a whole episode on those. So I don't know, Dutch just it has the sense of humor about it that gels with me. I really like Ed O'Neill, his character. I really love how good natured he is while still kind of having his limit to what he'll put up with, and his approach to trying to deal with this, obviously kind of cartoonish, almost spoiled brat character played by who was then known as Ethan Randall. And this is a movie that I feel like is kind of forgotten. It's not, it's a John Hughes production, but it's not like I guess you wouldn't hear about it when you hear about John Hughes movies. But to me, it kind of is a John Hughes movie. It feels like it's very much of the same, I don't know, uh, I guess close enough to something like Home Alone. And yeah, I know that one of the quotes on the DVD, actually, as I look down, says it's like Home Alone with Bart Simpson from Patrick Stoner, WHYY-TV Philadelphia. So there you go. But yeah, this is just a movie that I really love. I've showed it to my family. I think we watched it for Thanksgiving maybe last year, and um, I just appreciate what they're going for. It really works for me. So I don't think it's celebrated very much, but like I said, I wanted to put a spotlight on some lesser love movies as well as we put these lists together. And it is a comfort movie for me. The holidays are obviously something that's comforting to me, and some of the movies that manage to kind of capture them in ways that I appreciate, definitely are special. And I like movies that are set around holidays in general, especially ones that aren't as represented, like something like Thanksgiving, because I have an excuse to rewatch those a lot more than every other movie. I feel like every year. So I don't know. There's something special about that. Something to be said about that. So yeah, I actually paired this with something else. It's a double feature. My number three. I'm cheating a little bit.
Okay, we could play let's play the trailer for that too.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Arm Wrestling World Championship competition.
All I want to do is hurt him, cripple him. When the switch goes on, I feel like a machine.
The talk is over. Now the action begins.
Back off, I'm going to give you a world of hurt, little man.
You want it? Sylvester Stallone.
Why not?
I own you. Come on! Over the top. Rated PG. Soon.
And now I'll go ahead and read the VHS description for that. So Stallone goes over the top to be champ. His four Rocky sagas. Had
That's all he did.
Applauding at ringside. Now Sylvester Stallone gives us another reason to stand up and cheer. Starring as down on his luck big rig trucker Lincoln Hawk, and taking us under the glaring Las Vegas lights for all the boisterous action of the World Arm Wrestling Championship and Over the Top. Like Stallone's Italian Stallion. Oh, they're really trying to get that Rocky crowd on board. In 1976's Academy Award winning Best Picture Rocky, Lincoln Hawk is an amiable underdog, a David in a world of Goliaths. Relying on his wits and willpower, he struggles to rebuild his life, going against the odds as he goes after the World Arm Wrestling Championship's first place prize money and the love of his son, played by David Mendenhall. He abandoned years earlier. Love of the son he abandoned years earlier. Get ready for excitement as Stallone lands another knockout action film punch. And get ready for good times as you meet a colorful, iron armed gallery of arm wrestling giants like Rick Zumwalt, the real life California champion who squares off with Stallone in a To the Limit finale. Zumwalt explains his fascination with the tension packed sport this way: I can shake a guy's hand and then try to rip his arm off. After the match is over, we can laugh about it. You got guys from MIT and guys who can't spell MIT, says Stallone about arm wrestling's broad appeal.
What is all these weird descriptions?
Yeah, I don't know what we've stumbled onto here. That appeal and more is vividly captured here after Over the Top is over. Don't be surprised if you want to watch it again. So I feel like I just read a book. That was a lot. But that's Over the Top, and Over the Top is another movie. So whereas Dutch is kind of about a surrogate, like de facto father figure, this is about a absent father having to transport a spoiled brat. And whereas in Dutch it's done, more for comedy, this one kind of tries to play it up more for emotion, and you get a lot of very, very cheesy, like wonderful cheesy rock music, and beautiful scenes of the countryside on their drive. You get like a montage of them exercising and doing the like random gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. Like this guy's got like a whole workout routine in his truck somehow and outside his truck, and it's just hilarious. I genuinely I love both of these movies, but just to focus on Over the Top for a second, I genuinely love like all the things that this movie's panned for, like the things that people don't like it uh about it, including Stallone, who basically says like he turned it down until they just offered enough money to where he was like, oh, no one's gonna see it anyways, I guess I'll do it. But it's just it's the performances are ridiculous, like they're really over the top. I mean, it's like the perfect name, especially Robert Loggia, sorry,
Logia, yeah.
Logia, who's like this like villainous grandfather character that it's just so ridiculous. Like I don't get what's going on with him for most of the movies,
Yeah.
but it's so the whole thing is over the top. Like I said, everything, the soundtrack, the characters, the performances, the arm wrestling, the in-vehicle workout system this guy has rigged, this guy being Stallone's character, and he he wears a denim shirt with a tie as formal wear in two different scenes, two different outfits in this movie. One is to a funeral, and one is to his son's graduation, and they're different outfits, which is just, I don't know. That's something I felt like I needed to mention. It's amazing. You just don't see denim formal wear a lot. So yeah, one of them even has suspenders, and there's a there's a scene. Oh, I should mention this. There's a scene where they go to see the mom character, who's doesn't get a whole lot to do in this movie, but is responsible for bringing them together. And the hospital where they're at is actually where they filmed that scene where they finally arrive and go to the hospital is actually where my wife works. It's
Oh,
Allenview Medical Center, and it used to be right behind our old house before we moved in 2019. So it's an area we're still really close to, and my wife goes to every day. So it's kind of cool that seeing that that's in a movie because I don't know if I ever noticed that before watching it this time. But yeah, go figure. So I don't know. It's I guess I'll have that special connection with 5 seconds of this movie, but I love it. It's the first this was also the first time I noticed that the kind of bodyguard like muscle character for the grandpa is Terry Funk. I don't know how I never noticed that before, but he was a pro wrestling like legend. And I think it's because I wasn't used to seeing him that young because he was famous for like wrestling like really into his old age and doing like stuff with like crazy wrestling stuff like barbed wire and all that kind of stuff. But pretty like he got like pretty hardcore. But yeah, he gets thrown through a plate glass window by Stallone in this, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, it's oh, and the last thing in my notes I'll mention is someone drinks a can of Valvoline before an arm wrestling match. So yeah, there you go.
as
It's
you do.
this movie is just ridiculous. So I don't know. I feel like these two kind of pair well together. They're different. I feel like one of them kind of earns the bringing the characters together a little better than the other. But I'd probably say I think Dutch does it in a way that maybe I don't think either of them are necessarily realistic, but I feel like it just builds to it more. Whereas in Over the Top, it just kind of decides like, oh, okay, this is the part in the movie where we should just kind of have them start connecting or whatever. Um, but it's still really fun, and I do have a media book for Over
Oh,
the
it's
Top. This
nice.
was just released
It's really
actually.
cool looking.
This movie had great artwork, anyways.
Hmm.
It's got this on the back image,
I
something.
remember that poster.
Yeah, it's something
That
else.
was the poster in the theater, I think. I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I feel like I've seen this around over the years too. There's actually, how I was talking about those VHS editions, there is a company, a label in France who's kind of doing them now, Esque editions, and I've picked up some of those before, and I'm tempted to get their Over the Top because as much as I love media books, I do kind of like that weathered VHS look too on the shelf. So
It's cool.
I don't know. I'm a fan. I'm a fan for sure. And now I feel like I've heard you say that you didn't care for Dutch very much before. I could be wrong, but I just want to kind of ease in there just in case. But um, feel free to be open and honest.
Yeah,
So, what do you think
I
about
think
them?
my issue with Dutch is I find the kid too much of a jerk.
He is a jerk.
That I don't like him, and I don't care if if they bond by the end of the movie because he's too much of a jerk. Um, but I like Ed O'Neill. He's also a jerk too, and the character his character is kind of a jerk too. But I don't know. He plays it in a way that I kind of
Jerk with a big heart. Yeah.
yeah I enjoy. I just wish there were more Joe Beth Williams in that movie, maybe. Because
Yeah, no,
I
she's
like her a
great.
lot.
She's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
Of the two absent moms in both these movies, she's the standout.
Yeah, I think maybe my issue with that movie, it felt a little bit like a calculated mix of like Home Alone and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I feel like John
Yeah.
Hughes is like,
Oh, it is. Yeah.
what do I do next? I have Home Alone was a hit, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was a hit for me. Okay, I'm gonna put them together. That's what I got. That's what I get.
No, I
So
could
it's a
see
little
that.
bit, it's a little routine for me, but I do enjoy it for what it is. I just don't go back to it as much as you do. So,
Sure.
but I appreciate that you do.
Yeah, it's
Um,
grown on me, definitely.
Over the Top, on the other hand, I did see that in the theater. Canon had a big year in 1987, a year that probably sunk them as well. spending all this money on these movies like over the top.
Yeah,
Like I think they
that's
spent,
right.
I think they offered maybe still on like $20 million. That's why he couldn't
It
say
was
no.
something ridiculous.
And that was like
And
huge for 1987,
you
35
just
years ago.
reminded
It's
me,
like,
who directed this? It's one of them,
so it's
right?
Menahem Golan
Right, that's right.
directed
That's
this
what I just
movie.
remembered. Yeah, there you go. That's everything
So
you
from
need
the director of
to
the Apple,
know.
you're getting that kind of point of view. He made like legit movies. He wasn't like a director who wasn't capable. Like he could rise to the occasion when he had to. He did the Delta Force, right? But I don't know. It was like a little bit like almost like a crazy person made the movie, but in a very enjoyable way. Which I like what so his point of view sometimes, like his very trying to go for a very, very America rah rah kind of movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And clearly like the back of the box, that's the dictionary that's on the back of that box. It's trying to emulate, of course, Stallone's
Yeah.
Rocky movies, and it's like someone watched Rocky 4 more so than anything else. Like we
Yes.
got to make this movie, but with arm wrestling, and then throw it a kid. That's basically over the top. But that's what's the magic of over the top, guys.
It
It's
is.
like
It
it's like a
really
very
is.
simple like formula, but it's really special because of that. It's like it's a movie of montage after montage after montage,
So ridiculous.
which is amazing, and songs that stick with me. I'm sure one of them will end up on this podcast, and yeah, I just enjoy it. I enjoy the heck out of it. When I did the Canon podcast, I mean, I think I included it somewhere. I mentioned it somewhere in
Oh,
there,
I
and
think you might have. Yeah, you're right.
because how can you not? It's over the top.
It's funny when you were talking right now, I remembered something. And I wish I had more facts on this to bring it up, but I feel like this was marketed somewhere overseas, where they try to kind of sell things as sequels to movies that they're not a lot of times. Like you'll see
Oh yeah.
something like, I don't know, whatever, Suspiria 2 or something like that. I feel like that at one point I heard something about this having some kind of marketing campaign where it was like, "Yo, Adrian, I'm an arm wrestler now." I swear, like I don't know if that
I
was
love
like
that.
the tagline or something, but I swear I've seen that somewhere or heard it somewhere. And God, that it's just so obvious
I
what they're
love that.
trying
I've
to.
given up boxing to be an arm wrestler.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there you go. Yo, Adrian,
um,
I'm an arm
and then
wrestler
after
now.
this, I'm
AKA.
gonna be a bouncer. I mean, it's like he's like trading down. Like,
But yeah, that's it. That's it. So it's just so yeah, it's such a ridiculous movie.
it's totally ridiculous, but that's the fun of it. It's 90
It
minutes
is.
of ridiculous fun.
Yeah, for sure. It puts a smile on my face. Comfort movies like we're obviously showing with the variety here, kind of they all do different things and kind of comfort us in different ways sometimes. And sometimes you just want that cheese. And it's laid on pretty thick here. I remember this is so random. I don't remember why I did this, but one of my best friends found out he was gonna be a dad. This was years ago, and we were having them over, him and his wife, for like dinner or something. And I put this movie on. This is at our old. And I was like, "You need to watch this now because you're
This
gonna
is
be a
training to
dad."
be a
And
dad, to
it's
be
so and
an
it's so
absentee
funny.
dad.
Yeah, like what made me think this is like a good example. I mean, obviously I did it just so we could have an excuse to watch it, but our poor wives had to suffer through it too. I don't think they enjoyed it quite as much as we
I
did.
think you meant to put on Commando.
I think that
The
would have.
ultimate dad movie. It's
I think.
Commando and Night of the Juggler are the ultimate dad movies because these dads will stop at nothing and tear everyone apart to get
Oh man,
to rescue their daughters. So.
you're onto something there. You're onto something there. Yeah, no, this
But
this is only if you're gonna have a boy. Of course,
yeah,
you have to be.
if you have a boy and he's a jerk, this is what this is the movie that you
Yeah, watch
show.
this first, and then if what his approach doesn't work, then watch Dutch and go buy fireworks and stuff. So
Exactly.
there you go. So yeah, I'm a big fan, but that's it. That's my number 3.
Yeah,
So
that's a
let's
fun double.
yeah, let's get into
All right, here is a trailer for my number 3.
I'm fixing you up with Olivia. She's so patient and giving. Are you stupid?
Friends with Money is brutally funny.
Well, how often do you guys have sex?
Often.
No, we don't have sex often.
Winner, Best Picture, U.S. Comedy Arts Festival.
Why do you look different?
Shaved my beard.
Oh my God.
Like 3 weeks ago. Don't miss any spots.
A knockout punch.
I thought this whole maids thing was about sex.
Oh, it will be.
When?
Friends with Money.
I don't know about that.
Rated R.
Okay, actually, it was a TV spot. So here is a movie called Friends with Money. I'll try to read off the back of the DVD. We're in the DVD era for this movie. Jennifer Aniston, Catherine Keener, Frances McDormand, and Joan Cusack star in a film that New York Times hails as a bittersweet comedy about the drama of being alive, says Manola Dargis. Friends with Money, the story of four best friends whose comfortable lives are thrown off balance as realities of early middle age set in. It paints a painfully hilarious portrait of modern life in the class-sensitive west side of Los Angeles. Written and directed by Nicole Holofcener, lovely and amazing, Friends with Money was the opening night selection of the 2006 Sundance Film Festival and is being hailed as smart, witty, and alert, says Peter Travers of Rolling Stone. Acutely perceptive and sly, quick-witted, says Allison Benedict of Chicago Tribune. So yeah, we're in this era where they're really kind of like relying on critics to like get you to watch these movies. When I think it could have been worded better, or maybe it would have helped. But that's the Sony Pictures DVD box. It was a Sony Pictures Classics film. I saw it at the theater because I was a big fan of Nicole Holofcener's first two movies, which were Walking and Talking and Lovely and Amazing. I didn't add why I pick Friends with Money over those two. I don't know. For some reason I go back to this one most of her movies. There's something very comfortable about it, maybe because I am middle-aged like the characters in these movies. I can relate to their plights, relate to their stresses, relate to like some of the things they're going through. Maybe not as much as some of the wealthy characters in the movie, but I do appreciate the commentary and the satire that's being thrown their way. And I could, we live our lives and try to make that of the most of them. But this movie never kind of is saying these characters are terrible for what they are, for being so, having money, right? It is that's just their point of view, right? And you kind of, but it also explores all the just the way sometimes rich people are insensitive to others, and it just explores it in different ways. And Joan Cusack and the way they condescend sometimes and no mean to. It's like a lot of little moments in this movie is what adds up to a movie that really captures me. And certainly, of course, the actors are a big part of it. So, I'm not one who's to say, okay, you need to see a Jennifer Aniston movie. That's not my go-to, right? But she just happens to be one of the stars of the movie. And she's playing, of course, the character who is the one who's least financially stable. Yeah. And these are her friends that happen to have money. And I think she does a good job here because she's a little more subtle than she usually is. So I like her in this movie, whereas some other movies I'm not as into her, or like of course the Friends TV show, which I was never a fan of. But I do think she's aided by a lot of really good actresses in this movie, like Catherine Keener, of course, and Joan Cusack, and of course Frances McDormand, who is pretty amazing in this movie. I think I relate to her character the most in this movie, and when you see this movie, you'll be like, okay, I can understand why. Very eccentric character, someone who really is dealing with her middle age in a way that I could deeply relate to, is trying to figure things out. There's some dive into the husbands' lives as well, which is fun too. Little side moments with them as well. it's really ultimately a movie about people and their relationships with each other and how they affect each other, and little vignettes of their lives, and all the funny moments that can happen in that. And I don't know, it's something about that. It's really comfortable to me. I love a good ensemble movie. That's why I had to include one here. Because I tend to go back to ensemble movies for comfort. The way actors can play off of each other is really important to me in movies, especially good actors. So I had to have that here. I mean, you're not going to find good acting in my next pick, but but so I had to have at least one movie where the acting is legit good. And screen and oh, I almost said it. Friends with Money is certainly this movie for me, and it just weaves this tale of people in LA, and that I could I don't know, I just find it funny. Like I just find those kinds of people funny, like the people who are just insensitive because of the way they live their lives, like how the Catherine Keener character who thinks, she's being nice to her neighbors, but then she's building a really ridiculous like extension to her house that's like blocking people's views. But her point of view is that it's okay because it's not hurting anybody, right? But it is annoying everyone in the neighborhood. So she finds that no one likes her, and then the relationships that she has with her husband is pretty rocky. So it goes to these places with these characters, and like I love Frances Dorman's relationship with her husband, and who is perceived as gay to everyone but him, like and then it goes to some pretty funny places with that, and unexpected places, and you think it's going to be revealed a certain way, but it's not, and that makes it even funnier. And Nicole Holofcener is really good at making people human but also funny at the same time, and that's why I really love her movies. They're really special. I love the way she explores different coasts, like in her movie, like she goes back and forth between New York and LA movies, and like Walking Talking was very New York, and then this one is very LA, and then she did another movie that was in New York a little later on. So it's just like she kind of goes back and forth between them, and she just does a really good job at showing people of a certain type, certain age bracket, certain wealth, and just kind of having fun with them and satirizing them, and then but also making them human at the end of the day, which is fun. Like Joan Cusack, who's like the richest character of all of them, and she's in a place where she could help people, and she's not a total jerk at the end of the day, which is nice to see. But at the same time, she definitely shows her privilege, and I like that this movie was doing that in 2006 before it became kind of like fashionable, before people were virtual signaling and all that stuff that it's happening these days.
Sure. Yeah,
it's commenting on wealth and what that really means, and how it affects your friends. Yeah, I love it. This might have been your first time seeing it. I'm curious what your take is.
Yeah, I know it was my first time. I'd never heard of Nicole Holofcener. Sorry, I butchered that.
It's hard. It's a hard name. It took me a while.
I never heard of this movie, I don't think. And yeah, it was the first time. Speaking of Jennifer Aniston, I've never seen an episode of Friends. I'm one of the few, I guess.
We're very few in that.
Yeah, so like for me, this was just kind of a going in blind kind of thing, no expectations. And it's weird because it brought back like memories of like this era of films that I kind of forgot existed, but I feel like there were a lot of movies like this for a while. And I don't know if like how I saw them all, because I saw quite a few somehow. Maybe I was like renting them with my girlfriend at the time or something, but I feel like I saw a lot of these kinds of like a little bit slower paced, deliberate, dialogue heavy, kind of like dramedies, I guess. I don't know what to call them. And and I totally forgot like that was a thing. It's so weird because it's just something that I never really connected with, but I definitely lived through and experienced. So yeah, like I it took me back to that, and it's not necessarily like my cup of tea, if I'm honest. Like I wasn't like I wasn't like a huge fan of this one, but I appreciated it. Like I appreciate what you're saying about it, and I do think that there were some clever touches to the characters, and to some of the situations, and some funny, I guess, twists and turns, like, I guess subverting expectations in certain scenarios, like you said, like with the gay husband, or that whole running gag that kind of
Yeah.
turns out to be something else, and doesn't pay off the way you think. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. One thing I've always appreciated about this podcast is kind of getting out of my comfort zone, and watching different kinds of things. So it was that for me. It was definitely like it was like homework, but like good homework, I guess. And like where it's like
Yeah.
I'm better for opening up my mind to something different.
Soon you'll be asking to watch Friends with Money more often. Here's the DVD
I feel
from.
like I remember seeing that poster or something at some point. Yeah. Oh, it's the same cast. Oh no, that is Friends with Money. I'm sorry. I thought that was another one of the movies
That's
you
the
were mentioning. Yeah, that's the same movie. How funny. I was thinking it was one of the other
sharply
ones.
observed comedy.
It's a white DVD case, huh? I remember
Yeah,
that.
it's a white one, huh?
Yeah, very cool.
Terrific, a knockout punch. So there's moments in this movie that I think about a lot, and I'm just gonna say,
Do they involve a vibrator or a French maid outfit either?
well, there's that, but Frances McDormand at Old Navy is
Oh yeah,
that scene alone, and the way she and the way and her scenes in the parking lots in this movie, the way she tells people off is like totally me. I've done this before. I don't know if it's like me imitating the movie, or if I'm just like her. I don't know. It's just I feel like I feel like a special kinship. She feels wronged by
yeah.
those things in life, those really annoying things that happen in life, like people cutting you off. Just like it just kind of accumulates at her with
She's
her,
tired of letting
and
stuff slide.
she's
Yeah,
tired of it, and she just kind of like she lashes out in really funny ways, and I just really feel her
it's like
so
a
deep.
mini falling down going on with her in this. Totally, yeah.
Exactly, and so I really deeply relate to her characters, where her character, where some of the other ones, not as much, but
I think
I
she
enjoy.
might have been my favorite. Yeah, if I had to pick. Yeah, good call.
All right. So that's Friends with Money. That's my number 3. All right, let's get into our number 2s. Here's yours.
Remember the name Jack Burton.
Who? Jack Burton. Me.
Where's Jack?
Jack!
Everybody relax, I'm here.
How are you gonna spring us?
I have no idea.
He's coming to rescue your summer.
Hey, what more can a guy ask for?
Big Trouble in Little China. Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, July 2nd at a theater near you.
It's another long description. Let's see how we do. All right. High adventure in an underground kingdom. Kurt Russell stars as Jack Burton, a big talking, wisecracking trucker who's suddenly hurled into a wild adventure even he could never invent. At the root of it all, Lopan, played by James Hong, a 2,000-year-old evil magician who rules an empire of spirits beneath San Francisco's Chinatown. Doomed to a fleshless existence, he can only be saved by a green-eyed Asian beauty, when the fiance, Susie Pie, of Jack's friend, Dennis Dunn, is kidnapped by Lopan's minions, Jack goes to the rescue. He finds himself dodging demons, grappling with goblins, and facing baffling terrors like the room of the upside down hell as he battles his way through the labyrinth of Lopan's dark domain. Imaginatively directed by John Carpenter with an array of amazing special effects and co-starring Kim Cattrall. This action fantasy speeds along with all the surprises, twists, and thrills of a funhouse roller coaster. And I have to apologize. I'm having trouble reading tonight for some reason, and this is one of the few times I'm not drinking while we. So I might just be tired, but
it's late. It's late, guys. Sorry.
That's Big Trouble in Little China, which is
Big Trouble in Little China.
Thank you, because I couldn't have done that. But it's such a feel-good movie. It's so much fun. It's so much joy in this movie. It's just action-packed and makes me laugh. It has some great visuals, great gags. I love that the star of the movie, the hero of the movie, is this Jack Burton character who doesn't realize he's actually the sidekick the entire time. He's really the sidekick who's just barely kind of bumbling his way through this adventure, and thinking he's Indiana Jones or something. But it's just so much fun. It's so crazy to think that obviously I've spoken about John Carpenter being my favorite director of all time before, and that's probably cliche, and Kurt Russell being my favorite actor of all time, probably, movie star, actor, whatever you want to call him. And there's something so interesting to me about their pairing, that they did something like The Thing, and then they did, they've done stuff like Escape from New York, and then somehow they gave us this movie. Like, it's just so different, like tonally, and it's such a different vibe, and I think it's just great for it's like a really interesting take on like a fantasy adventure that you just don't see a lot. And sure, like it's probably, there are things that are pretty dated in it, and some things might hold up better than others, but seeing it through like those nostalgia filled glasses or whatever, it's just it's really amazing and magical. And gosh, I want to say this might have been another one that just didn't find an audience in theaters somehow, which is such a shame, because there's so many of those John Carpenter movies from that era that just went that way. But I feel like now it is appreciated as a cult classic, I guess, for lack of a better term. And gosh, I'm looking at my media books for this one. I have 5 different covers for
Wow.
Big Trouble in Little China. I got to the point where I actually put away my Scream Factory release, and I put away my Arrow release, and put away there was a steelbook. I want to say there was a steelbook from Scream Factory and Arrow, because I was like, okay, I'm getting way too many editions of this, so I just settled on the media books at the end. So I do want to share the artwork, because I think this movie has some beautiful artwork.
That's pretty.
This is awesome. This is just one media book, and then
it looks 3D from my vantage point almost.
Oh, cool!
It's popping out.
Here's number 2. And I don't, some of this stuff is commissioned artwork, but I have a feeling this movie got some cool posters and stuff over the world. This is another cool cover. Mm-hmm. And of course, most of these feature some variation of Kurt Russell in this awesome tank top that is actually something you could find pretty easily online if you look for it. Not that I'd walk around with a mullet and tank top these days, but of course this is a more traditional cover. And this is just an amazing movie. It's actually next on my list of movies I want to show my nephew, who's like the kind of the perfect age for this stuff. And I've been shown a lot of R-rated action and horror and stuff too lately. I feel like this is one he'd really, really get a kick out of. So big fan of Big Trouble in Little China. It's so funny. It's got so many nice touches in there. I am on board the Pork Chop Express even more than whatever Stallone's truck was called in Over the Top. And
two truck driver movies, huh?
Yeah, there you go. There's just this lots of
that's
weird...
what you secretly want to be in life,
well,
as a truck driver.
It actually is, so honest to God. But yeah, there's some fun connective tissue we're finding in all of these. But this is turning into a therapy session, I think. But
at least,
yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't have a jerk child, so that there's not that connection.
Exactly. So yeah, no, this is a great a really fun time. I feel like there's other John Carpenter movies I could have argued are kind of feel good movies or comfort movies to me, but I feel like this is one that could be a comfort movie to like a normal person too. So yeah, it took a lot for me to not make this number one, actually, but there's we'll get into that later. There's a good reason for that. But yeah, I think you had a chance to rewatch this.
Oh yeah, I rewatched it with did family movie night, Big Trouble in Little China.
Awesome.
And, it went over really well. So my son he's very like aware when people are being portrayed in unfair ways, especially people of different ethnicities. And so he was ready to get down on Big Trouble in Little China, because it is called Big Trouble in Little China, and argue that it's going to portray Asian people in negative ways, which was very, watching a lot of 80s movies with him, like he noticed that happened a lot over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, absolutely.
To his surprise, Big Trouble in Little China never goes there, thankfully. There's a lot of Asian characters in this film, and you would even argue the Asian character sidekick is actually the hero.
Exactly.
And Jack Burton is the fool, right?
I totally see it that way. Yeah.
So that's a very specific thing that John Carpenter, I think, really wanted to illustrate with this movie. That, the character who's obviously, Kurt Russell is trying to channel like John Wayne. I don't know what he was trying to do with his voice. It's really funny though. Trying a conventional American hero and then turn it on its head. And I think it's really fun that he was doing that in 1986 when other American films were actually portraying Asians in pretty racist ways. This movie never does that. It's really actually the opposite. And my son was really, by the end of the movie, he was really won over by that fact that this movie is, portraying Asians in a great way, because he's, he is half Asian, so he's sensitive to that and cares about that. So I love that this movie is that. And first of all, but on top of that, being a really entertaining, fun movie, so well made. It's a hybrid movie too, which you weren't getting a lot of then, which was, we're doing movies today, like I would say ahead of their time, like Last Action Hero, which you picked, and Fright Night, I would say, was even ahead of its time, because it was kind of not just doing the conventional thing you would do in a sequel, and then this movie,
sequels that break the formula. Absolutely.
This movie was ahead of its time, and it was doing like Supernatural. It was doing it was paying homage to kung fu movies, which weren't yet to do, right, in the 80s. They were doing kung fu movies or ninja movies really in the 80s. And it was released through American films, but they weren't doing like homages to like 70s like Shaw Brothers movies yet. That came later. and all the supernatural stuff, but then making like a fun action movie on top of it, like having like a character who you assume is going to be like an Indiana Jones, but really is not.
He just bumbles his way through the time.
So it's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's martial arts, it's comedy, it's a lot going on in it. Special effects. They had a ball watching it because this movie gives you that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the female characters are portrayed in fun ways. Kim Cattrall is a fun character.
Yeah.
So I think it really is a movie that holds up really well and better than most movies were doing at that time, and these kinds of movies. I like a lot of those movies that were more conventional, like the King
but we know like they're from a different time,
but they're very much of the 80s, even like Indiana Jones, very conventional like movie, like part 2, which is my favorite, but very conventional. But this is a really fun movie that breaks the molds of the time, and audiences weren't ready for it in 1986, but I think they finally caught up to it. And then John Carpenter was the master of making those kinds of movies, like The Thing and even They Live. They movies that weren't appreciated when they initially were released, but then found their love on home video and cable and beyond. So I love it. It's really fun.
Well, very well said. And I just want to again point out how much I appreciate the range shown from Carpenter and Kurt Russell, with having, the guy who was, R.J. McReady and Snake Plissken, tough as nails, like badass, just totally being willing to show such a different, more vulnerable side of himself here.
Play it full.
And I love that. I mean, I wish more modern action movie stars would do that.
That would be nice.
I just can't picture a lot of them even, but
I mean, they're sometimes jokey and self-deprecating, but they're not, at the end of the day, like Jack Burton-esque.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, not everyone's got that charisma that Kurt Russell has, and there's something to be said for that. But
that's a big difference.
This is just a real special one to me. I feel like if I'm down or having a hard week or whatever, this is one I can pop in and it'll definitely me up. So big comfort movie for me.
And the music is a lot of fun. I mean, I joked about the song, more so the music video, which is pretty fun to watch because it's so cheesy. Like having these guys, these dads in dad sweaters, do the song. If you ever watched that music video, I was like dads in dad sweaters singing.
It's been a while. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's just so fun because it's pretty 80s, mid 80s like cheese music video, and but it's fun to watch.
For sure.
But the score is really good and entertaining.
Definitely. You're going to have a hard time trying to pick some songs for this episode between Over the Top and some of these other ones we're talking about. There's a lot of candidates for sure.
There is, for sure. All right. There's some good candidates in my next pick for songs. Here is my number 2. I'm going to play the VHS. I'm going to play the trailer for this one. Here we go.
Christy was an ordinary teenager, but she hated her stepfather.
Oh, shit.
Paul?
Well.
Hello? Mom? I caught him cheating on you.
Miss Bull asked me to pick her up at her house because she couldn't get to the agency.
That's bullshit.
It became an obsession with her.
Hi, Christy.
In Michael Winner's new thriller, Scream for Help.
I'm upset because my stepfather just tried to murder my mother. Paul did it. I know he did.
Christy, stop.
He fixed it to kill Mom.
Christy, don't talk like that.
You've been crazy to get Paul Fox ever since he married your mother.
Nobody believed her. Imagination or fact? She had to find out.
Janie, please help me.
What were they doing?
Fucking. What? Yeah, you have to see it, so when I tell my mom, you can back me up. Come on.
Hey, slow down!
I'm trying. The gas pedal's stuck.
Hit the brake!
He did this. Paul Fox. He fixed this car so it'd kill Mom. Don't believe me. Just wait until he kills you.
She wouldn't give up. She followed him, hounded him, spied on him. She was determined to expose him. But instead, she came face to face with a new terror. Alone and afraid, at the mercy of ruthless killers, it was too late to scream for help. Can she escape the terror that invaded her home? See Scream for Help, the new nightmare from Michael Winner, director of Death Wish.
Yeah, it's Scream for Help. Michael Winner's Scream for Help. I read off the back of the VHS box. Okay, it starts off with a quote by Michael Winner. Scream for Help is one of the most terrifying scripts I've ever read, says Michael Winner, creator of Death Wish. All right. Terror invades an upper-class New York community as 17-year-old Christy Cromwell cleverly uncovers her stepfather's horrifying plot to murder her wealthy mother. She's on to him, yet no one will believe her. She's just a kid, smart, imaginative. Maybe she's just taken a crazy idea to the limit. Suspense builds when a series of shocking events confirm her worst fears. Alone, afraid, and helpless, terrified, Christy and her mother are held prisoner in their own home at the mercy of ruthless killers. Okay, that's the KLTV Carl Lorimer home video box. Do you remember that company? They had a little bit of a moment in the mid-'80s and then they disappeared. So Michael Winner, the director of Death Wish, made this movie. Click that off. And boy, did he make a movie. Yeah, I've been neglecting to tell you the categories. Commando was obviously action, comfort.
Right.
Friends with Money, I called comfort from the last 15-20 years. I wanted to do a movie from the last 15-20 years. Scream for Help. This is the category what I call it. Movies that live in my head rent free. I say that because there are scenes in this movie that just stay in my head and will never leave. Moments, dialogue passages, music cues. There's so much bonkers in one movie. It's just kind of hard to even break down and tell you exactly what those things are. My best advice is watch Scream for Help.
Yeah.
There's a Blu-ray by the Scream Factory thankfully put out. Before that, I think you had to track it down only on VHS or maybe on a YouTube bootleg. It might still be on there. I don't know, but I would, the Blu-ray is probably preferable. I had the VHS for many, many years. So I had definitely upgraded once the Blu-ray came out. So yeah, it's a pretty bonkers movie, to say the least. It's made by a crazy person, Michael Winner, who's notorious for being kind of crazy. His actors will tell you that. Not the easiest director to work with because he was pretty bonkers himself.
Right.
His point of view, if you watch a Death Wish sequel, is pretty weird.
Yes.
Out there. The way he kind of stitches these movies together, the way they're edited, the way their music is thrown onto them in very haphazard, ill-fitting ways makes the movies even better in my eyes. I'm sure this was a Tom Holland script. I'm sure it was a more kind of
straightforward.
almost like if you think about it, it's almost like a sister or cousin to Fright Night.
Yeah.
About a character who is onto somebody else trying to do bad, right? A
That's right.
neighbor, and
Yeah.
in that one, obviously, in this one, her stepfather. But when you make it through filter it through Michael Winner, it becomes a totally different thing, and that's why Tom Holland hates this movie.
That's why he directed Fright Night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It perverted his script. It's perverted in its own way.
It is.
But that's what makes it magical. Because there's no other movie kind of quite like this one. It's it's Nancy Drew. If Nancy Drew was trapped in a From Hell movie, but also a Death Wish movie, but also I don't know, like an after school special, but also like it's like a Goretta on like 20 different things that this movie is like probably also channeling somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Whether intentional or not, it is, and it's just kind of amazing just to watch it unfold. And you got the score by John Paul Jones, and of course his aided by his other bandmates, his famous bandmates. And then like John Anderson of Yes singing a song. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy that this has happened, but this movie exists, and for many years I felt I was alone because to watch it you only had the VHS, and I had the VHS, and I'm like, have you ever seen this crazy movie called Scream for Help? And no one ever really that I knew saw it.
Yeah.
It didn't play on cable much, that's from what I remember.
Not as much as it should have. Yeah.
No,
definitely.
it's so really you had to rent it and discover it, and then it did eventually find its cult audience, and of course that led to eventual Blu-ray, which is great, and I'm so thankful more people could see this movie and witness what I've been witnessing this last 30, because it came out on video in 86. That was the first time. 86, maybe early 87, and that's when I discovered it 6 years ago. So I mean, geez, I've been living with this thing so long and was watching it over and over. I have the soundtrack.
Oh, that's awesome.
I play it a lot. The song Christie.
Yeah, this has got some great songs.
Quite a song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the music cues are just watch this movie with the music. It's so nuts. It's nuts and off, and I love it. I love it. I adore that it was made and it was released. It's available. So
yeah. No, absolutely. I'm with you 100%. Something about this movie, it's just so bizarre. It's like somehow you've got like her poor mom being chucked down the stairs on a wheelchair. Like
I feel like she's done that multiple times too.
Yeah, like she's just manhandled and mistreated, and there's so much terrible stuff going on in this movie like that, and like a girl finding out or telling her best friend that she's pregnant and getting killed in a very like hilarious way somehow.
It's not long
like
after it's
like right after, and it's like all these terrible things. Like if you actually describe what's happening, it's like, wow, what a harsh movie this must be for this poor girl. But it's like, no, it's like it's just a total popcorn movie somehow. Like it's
because what's her reaction to that? It's like the next, like almost like a couple scenes later, she's having sex
very
for the first
awkward,
time.
Uncomfortable. The Nancy Drew character.
Nancy Drew is having sex for the first time.
You get to see her lose her virginity in a very awkward, uncomfortable way, where they somehow make it like not a traditional sex scene. That's for sure. It's just such a bizarre movie. It needs to be seen to be believed. I will never ever forget that we almost got to see this as a triple feature at the New Beverly. You, me, and Ben Sher were gonna go see this with Lisa and the Stepfather, I want to say. And
I can't believe I didn't go
I
to that.
still think about that as many years ago as that was, just because it's just, and this was the one, because it wasn't on Blu-ray yet. This
No, this
was
is
the
like the
one that it
first
was
time.
like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, Lisa's awesome. I love Lisa. I love the Stepfather. But this was the one that was kind of like the, whoa, we're gonna see Scream for Help like on the big screen. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. It's a special one for sure. It's just so out there. A lot of fun. Everything about it is so wrong, yet it somehow works. um, and yeah, it's like it just plays with funny things, like kind of like how we're talking about earlier with subverting expectations and certain things, like a character who kind of turns out to be a hero could have very easily just been a jerk, and it's just weird. I don't know, a lot of stuff like that, but that's not to say that he's a good person either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, a lot of stuff in this movie. It's I guess I just thought of one connection um to Kenny and Company randomly as I was thinking about that character, is the I guess love interest in this movie. His dad is the chief of police, I want to say. And I was just thinking about how cool the dad in Kenny and Company is, his buddy's dad, who's a Secret Service agent.
Oh my God, yeah.
He
I love
does all
those. I
those
love those
cool.
scenes of him.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what made me think of that, but we're still finding stuff to randomly tie these together. But yeah, big fan of Scream for Help. I can't believe we have a movie with a pregnant teenager getting hit by a car on our comfort movie episode.
It's so comforting.
But it's somehow worked. And if you've seen the movie, trust me, it definitely works. So yeah, big fan, big thumbs up.
Christy, you don't have. Okay. All right. So that was my number 2, and then number 1s. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Here is the HBO spot for your number 1.
Hi all, this is Kermit the Frog, and I'd like to tell you about this Christmas special that we did. It's called Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and it's a nice, warm, gentle story, and it looks like this.
Seems like we've sold just about everything last couple of years.
About all I got left is a sense of humor in a wash tub.
Well, at least there ain't no hole in the wash tub. Your nails won't break and your toes won't stub. You never get a fever when there ain't no hole in the wash tub.
All with brand new bunch of Muppets.
Look at the birds up in the trees.
Well, we're not birds. We're a jug band.
So get...
And it's got wonderful music by Paul Williams.
Replace it with a grin and a dream come true.
With a pretty girl dancing the jug band music.
And a mess of mama's barbecue.
That's a pretty girl dancing the jug band music.
And a mess of mama's barbecue.
So remember to watch Home Box Office for Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And Merry Christmas from the Muppets.
Thursday.
All right. So Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, starring the Muppet performers. That's actually not the VHS description. They just put the cast on the top credits. So struggling to make ends meet, Mrs. Otter and her son Emmett face yet another bleak Christmas until Emmett secretly decides to enter Frogtown Hollow's first annual talent contest on Christmas Eve. However, Emmett faces some hilarious and unexpectedly tough competition for the prize money in this delightful and musical Muppet tale. So that is the Muppet home video VHS description for Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, which is a movie that it feels so out of place somehow among the other movies I mentioned tonight, yet it is just such a comfort movie to me, maybe more than any other. It just really warms my heart. It's a movie that I've shown my whole family, different generations. something really sweet about it. I don't know. The Muppets themselves are, uh, gosh, I mean, compared to some of like the later, more bigger budget movies, they probably seem pretty cheesy and low budget, maybe even to some people, but it adds to the charm. I just think there's something really sweet about it, the way it's made. I definitely gravitate towards this one around Christmas time. I feel like it's kind of the ultimate Christmas comfort movie for me in some weird way. Um, Maybe it's just recapturing that innocence of childhood again, but this time in watching a Muppet movie, just something that we kind of grew up with that's not fashionable anymore. You don't really see them anymore. Um, and just that Jim Henson magic is just really special here. I love the relationship with Emmett and his mom. I love that they're just this poor family, living in this countryside, just trying to get by, and the little like sneaky life lessons that you kind of get in the story. And I just think there's a lot of care put into here, a lot of attention to detail, and a lot of really fun sets and really cool just design throughout. Um, this is a movie that I believe has a Blu-ray now. So it is more available now than it's been before, because in years past, this was one of those things where you had to dish out a lot of money to get the right copy on DVD, which is what I did, because you wanted the copy that had Kermit in it, which he was removed at different times and different releases due to rights issues.
So weird.
Which is very weird. Yeah, and he's not, when I say Kermit's in it, I mean, he's like barely in it, kind of as like a narrator, I guess, or something. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, this is also like a musical, by plot. And I'm not a huge musical guy, but it just works. It's something about this movie makes me really sappy. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I actually am planning on rewatching this next weekend, right before Christmas. I think I've kind of talked to my sister who loves it now. I introduced my sister to this. I introduced my mom to this. I introduced my family to this, and I think I'm going to have them over to watch it with us all, and probably right before Christmas Eve and everything. And it's just a really sweet movie, and I think it might be too, like, I don't know, wholesome or quaint or whatever for like modern audiences, but things were just different back then. As as seen, as visible in something like Kenny and Company. The It's just a different, it is made for a different generation of kids, different times, and there's something I really connect to with that. And I do feel like maybe as jaded and as we all become, and or whatever, like there is something special about a movie that could kind of just take you back to that. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm probably rambling too much for someone talking about a Muppet movie, but I just really love this one, and it's really special. And and before I forget, I will say an honorable mention that I wanted to mention along with this is the Muppet Christmas Carol, which I actually didn't see until more recently, like these last few years. And I watched it with my daughter like a bunch of times. We haven't watched it this year, but we probably will. Which I like a lot. I think that one's really good. Michael Caine plays it straight, which is nice. But yeah, I'll sneak that in here as honorable mention at this point. But no, it doesn't. It's not a patch on Emmett Otter and that crazy, the crazy band, and the crazy rival band and everything else that's in here. So I don't know. It's just a really cool sweet movie, kind of like a mini time capsule in some ways, for like, but simpler times as far as childhood goes. So
Yeah.
yeah, did you grow up with this one? Did you see it
I
when
saw it one time growing up, and then not again until I watched it last year with my kids
very cool.
for Christmas. And then I just kind of, yeah. I remember, I kind of remember what it felt like. I remember that it was kind of sad, but sweet.
Yeah,
That
good
kind
way
of
to put it.
vibe. So I was kind of like, oh, how's this gonna play for a family movie night? I'm like, I think the kids are gonna be bored. Maybe, I don't know. I was a little bit like a little hesitant, but then to my surprise, they really were into it because they actually haven't been into any Muppet movies until this point.
Oh,
I've introduced
interesting.
a couple of them. Maybe I've been introducing the wrong ones, but they haven't been that into the Muppets, generally speaking. And but they loved, for some reason, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It helped that they love Christmas in
That's
general. That's like
cool.
their,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it is a great Christmas movie. It
Uh,
really is.
but I think something about the sweetness of it and the focus on characters who are a little bit down their luck, and very like almost like grittiness to it,
Yeah, it's funny to say that,
very
but yeah.
handmade quality feeling to it,
Uh-huh.
which is very different from like kids stuff these days, which all is
Yeah.
animated and CGI'd and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's not even hand animated, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very different feeling. Yeah, I think they really responded to that, and they thought it was pretty special, and they were really into it, and that made me happy that a movie from the 70s can do that. Between this and last year, and then this year we watched Kenny and Company for Halloween. I'm like, wow, these movies can really hold up and or work for a whole totally different generation that they were made for. And I don't know, that's something, they did something really special with this one. And
Absolutely.
I think I'm gonna put it on again for them at some point during this holiday. So yeah, I think they'll appreciate that. I think there might be access to it. It's like a Disney owned property now, right?
That's a good
I can't
question.
remember because Disney owns the Muppets. I know now.
They do. The DVD I'm looking at right now is a Columbia TriStar DVD. So,
Yeah, I
I
know.
know there's some weird rights thing with this one,
There
but
was there was a deal where Sony had the Muppets, but then they all went to
exactly,
Disney.
yeah.
So
But I don't
if
think it's
it's
like on Disney Plus or anything, right?
okay,
If I'm
so I
not
wonder
mistaken.
now if we'll have access to it on the Disney cruise that we're going on,
Oh, nice.
but I'll figure it out and I'll make sure the kids watch it again
It
because
must,
they really liked it.
and the rights issue must have been resolved if there was a Blu-ray, but I didn't pick up the Blu-ray because I think I read that it was, they had a lot of issues,
Oh,
at least the
really?
review I looked at, or two. So
That's
I
too
just
bad.
kind of stuck with what I had, but
Yeah.
and plus I'm scared to make a mistake of getting rid of something like a DVD that might have like something that the Blu-ray doesn't. So
Yeah. I mean, it
I know I've done
happens
that before.
a
Yeah.
lot.
So I don't know. But yeah, this is a movie that should definitely be on Disney Plus if they have the rights to it, and should be like one of those like spotlighted kind of movies, like put it at the top banner or whatever, like give it some attention because they made this like little gem back then, and I don't think a lot of people have seen this one. I really don't. Um,
I know people who love it. Growing up with those people who are my age or older. So
no, sure,
yeah,
I can see that.
who
Yeah.
saw it when it was new in 1977 or whatever it
Seven, I
was.
want to say, yeah.
So it's like it's been definitely been lost a little bit over time. Other than it's the core cult
It
audience.
does have like a cult audience. My sister actually, who got so into it after I showed it to everyone, found a lot of like cool stuff for it on Etsy,
Oh, nice.
where like people made a lot of like I don't even remember now, like maybe they were like little dolls or puppets or decorations or whatever, but there's like a lot of there's like a whole section for this movie.
That's pretty. That's
Because
pretty
it probably
cool.
doesn't have its own like official merch, you know.
Probably not. No.
Yeah. It's not like buying a Miss Piggy stuffed animal or something. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
It's a
they
cool
should
one.
have capitalized on this year because it was the 45th anniversary this year.
Oh,
So,
that's right. Yeah,
oh
that's
well,
right. Maybe for the 50th. Yeah, we'll see.
maybe next year we'll see.
Yeah.
All
Well, no,
right,
that's cool, man. Glad you like it.
I do. All right, my number one is here. Here is the TV spot.
Wishing for a close-up.
Not too close.
TV's biggest star has an even bigger secret.
But I didn't know I was going to be working for the rest of my life as a woman.
She's Dustin Hoffman. His roommate.
You slut.
His girlfriend.
If you could just see me out of these clothes, No.
And his agent think he's crazy.
I beg you to get some therapy.
Because everyone's crazy about Tootsie.
I've never wanted a woman this much.
Rated PG. See a special sneak preview tomorrow night.
Okay, that's Tootsie. Here's the back of the RCA Columbia Pictures home video box. Very comforting looking. The banner, the red banner, love it. This marvelously funny movie stars Dustin Hoffman as an out-of-work actor who makes himself up as a woman to get a job. Nobody will hire brash Michael Dorsey, Dustin Hoffman, because he's antagonized every producer in New York. When his girlfriend, Sandy Terry Garr, fails an audition for a soap opera, Michael dresses up as Dorothy Michaels and lands the part. Michael's fellow conspirators are his agent, George, director Sidney Pollack, and his roommate, Jeff, Bill Murray. All goes well until Dorothy falls in love with beautiful co-star Julie, Jessica Lange, and Julie's father, Les, Charles Durning, falls for Dorothy. One of the most popular comedies of all time. Tootsie won Jessica Lange an Academy Award as Best Supporting Actress. So, yeah, clearly a very popular movie of the 1980s, especially the early 1980s. Tootsie, which landed a bunch of Academy Award nominations. The back of the box mentioned that it landed Jessica Lange an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Beyond the award recognition and all the money it made at the box office, Tootsie I saw in the theater, and even at 7, something about it, excuse me, which made me laugh. It was a very funny movie right off the bat for me, but I don't know. I feel like I immediately loved the world it created and the characters it was inhabiting. It was nice to see a peek behind like a TV show and how that was being made. I remember liking that, and just seeing how an actor just kind of navigates that world. And so it was my first real peek into that. And then eventually I would work into film production and all that. But it was nice to see a behind the scenes, and then the comedy that can derive from pretending and masquerading as someone else, which was like, this is my first taste of that in the 80s. And it became a subgenre that I grew to love and really love later on. Of course, in movies like Just One of the Guys and so on. But Tootsie was really, the godfather of those movies, if you were gonna do that. And I love it. I watch it. I've watched it every year, and it's just turned 40 literally like the other day, December 17th.
Just like me.
Yeah, you and Tootsie turned 40 in the last week, and I've watched it almost every year since it came out. That's like 40 times almost.
That's awesome.
And I never get bored of it because I still find it so funny. And the characters, the actors who portray them just do such a good job. It's a New York movie, which, I love so much. And this one's a real ultimate New York movie in this way. And yeah, I just fall in love with it. I love the music. Sidney Pollack is always, to me, a good director. He really can do all different kinds of movies, and to do such a big mainstream comedy after helming some like more serious films, kind of a testament to what kind of director he is. Like, he's very versatile and can do a lot, and he's really funny in the movie himself as an actor.
Yeah.
People forget how good of Sidney Pollack was as a performer as well as a director. movies like this. And then we talked about 1982 with Husbands and Wives. He's really funny in that. His reactions to Dustin Hoffman as Dorothy are really funny. And yeah, I don't know. Dustin Hoffman is probably canceled as an actor since this movie, whatever. But I just find him so incredibly fun to watch. His character is kind of like, tough, right? Because he's an actor who clearly womanizes, and but then he's lovable by the end of the movie, which is like the writing of the movie. They make you win him over. He's such a good actor that he wins you over. He learns lessons. This is a movie about a character who has to go through all these things to become a proper feminist. And whether that's going to hold up in 2022 and beyond. Where you have to dress up as a person of your opposite sex to like learn a lesson about life. It doesn't hold water in our modern world.
Yeah.
But I don't care because I find it completely funny. I connect to it. I think the movie crafted, this is a movie crafted 40 years ago. I think what it was doing 40 years ago made sense, and it worked for what it was doing, and it's really funny still. And whether it's like a small performer like George Gaines as a co-star on the show, he's really funny, or someone like Dustin Hoffman, or even Jessica Lange, who I think is very good in the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I go back to it often. Bill Murray is really funny. It's funny that he was uncredited in the movie. I think he chose not to be credited because he was so synonymous with Saturday Night Live. He didn't want to ruin the by having that spotlight put on him. So he kind of took a step back from being credited because of that, because he was so popular at the time. It was really, a movie about not his character so much, but he's really there as a supporting player. But I think it's really funny in all of his scenes and his reactions to Dustin Hoffman and Dorothy Michaels, and Terry Garr is amazing and alive in this movie and really funny. And the way she kind of oscillates in her, very, very much an insecure actress way that I've seen in person. And I think it's really funny. And there's so much, it's so rich with with characterizations and comedy that just derives from characterizations. I mentioned Friends with Money does that pretty well. So I tend to gravitate towards those kinds of comedies as well as a silly comedy like Just Friends, because I don't know, that's who I am and what I enjoy, and I find a lot of comfort in it. And certainly Tootsie, a movie that's endlessly quotable in my head and I go back to again all the time. What's your relationship with Tootsie?
Right. So interestingly enough, this is a movie that I've always been aware of. By reputation as like a all-time, comedy classic. One of the great films, of our time, of that time, I guess. And this is a movie that both my parents always spoke really highly of and really loved. My mom still, of course, and I remember my dad liked it a lot as well. But for whatever reason, I don't think I'd ever seen it before.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. And I sat down and watched it now for the podcast, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really funny, like you said. It's crazy because you have to see it through like 1982 glasses, I think, so to like really appreciate it. Kind of like how wild what they were doing was, because it's been imitated so much since then.
That's true.
It kind of became its own genre, like you said, like its own subgenre at least. And there's been so many movies like that since then, in their own way, not as successful probably or as well regarded. And I think the cast here is great. I'm a big Bill Murray fan. Like but I do think he was kind of in this the right amount to where like he didn't overshadow what was happening because he's
Yeah.
such a big personality.
Yeah.
And I liked his like even his reaction to certain things was like he kind of underplayed it in like a really funny way. Like
Mhm.
even his like line delivery of stuff like, okay, now this is getting weird, you know,
Mhm.
like whatever. Like this, it's just funny, like the stuff that was like too far and like you know and what wasn't before that. So I don't know, there's a lot of little funny moments, same with Sidney Pollock's line delivery. But yeah, so I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. I did feel a little for Terry Garr and Charles Durning. I don't know what it is, if it's like me in my old age or what, but like I always like feel upset for characters who are like wronged in these
Yeah.
kinds of scenarios now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I was like that before, but I felt bad for both of them.
Mhm.
But it's okay. I like the way it's kind of resolved, especially with Charles Durning. I think there's a really funny scene at the bar later.
Yeah, it's kind of
Um,
poignant too because like he just misses they kind of miss each other. It's nice that
yeah. And I don't know if I had a complaint or two, I guess. I was thinking about this while you were talking. I would have liked a little more Gina Davis, if I'm honest.
yeah,
I think that's just me,
that's
maybe.
always a good thing. Yeah.
Exactly, but like, let's say that was just another actress, whatever, it's fine. If I did have minor complaint about the movie, I do feel like it's resolved very quickly at the end. And I don't know, maybe you don't need to drag out endings, you know what I mean? Like, we don't need a half an hour like epilogue
Mhm.
to this whole journey that you know you've been on. And sometimes it's okay to wrap things up quickly, but I do remember just kind of feeling like watching it, you know, whenever it was getting ready for this podcast, kind of feeling like, oh, that's it, it's over. Like he just kind of um they kind of go through all those steps really quickly at the end of making peace with the people that he upset and wronged or whatever, or deceived, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
And like Jessica, he like kind of wins Jessica Lange over again really quickly, and like I don't know, it just felt like really like it got neatly wrapped up in like 5 minutes or something from the it's not, I mean, it's not 5 minutes, but from the reveal that he was, you know, Dustin Hoffman all along,
Yeah.
to like the very end, it just felt like a blur. It just went so quick to me, but maybe that's just because I was really into it and I would have wanted more. I don't know, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's a good, really good movie. I mean, I had a feeling it would be just because of its reputation and everything, but you know that sometimes there's movies that just aren't for you, and I guess for whatever reason I just assumed this one wasn't for me, but it was a really good one for sure. So yeah,
Hey,
I'm glad you
one
put
year
it
over
up.
here. Maybe I'll watch it every year now.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I just find there's a coziness to it because I'm so familiar with it and the music and where it goes by the end with the
Oh my God,
song.
I'm so glad you mentioned the music. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Mhm.
I have found myself like even like I've had the theme stuck in my head so much that I'm pretty sure I've even been like whistling it, like which is ridiculous, but like I did, and I've heard that song a billion times, and I probably didn't even know this is what it was from, you know?
Mhm.
So there you go. There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
mean that's part of our bedtime rotation of songs that I have on the playlist for the kids, and
Oh, that's awesome.
it might be used in there. Gotta have some Stephen Bishop. Yeah, it's such a again comforting, and that's why we're here. All
Yeah.
right, that's our list, guys. I'm gonna read
Yes.
off now lists from you, from listeners of the show, and for people who responded at least.
Yes.
All right. First and foremost, I'm gonna read off Bill Banks list.
Mhm.
Bill, of course, inspired this podcast. Bill, here is what you wrote. The Secret of My Success, Nothing in Common, Gross Anatomy, Lucas, Three for the Road, Better Off Dead, Elizabethtown, Broadcast News, which just had an anniversary, High Fidelity, and Reality Bites. All super comforting movies, so I'm totally with you on those.
Awesome, Bill.
Sue Shippers. A lot of my comfort movies cross over with my favorite movies. In no particular order, my comfort movies are The Burbs, Heathers, The Fog, Halloween, Island Claws, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Scream, Mortuary, Moon of the Wolf, Night of the Comet, The Wind, 1986, Back to the Future, Adventures in Babysitting, Mr. Mom, Mystery Date, and Mannequin 1 and 2. Long list, I know, but I love comfort. Can't wait to hear the podcast. I hope it's a long one. Yeah, it is.
I think it is.
You wish granted. David G. Soul, Fried Green Tomatoes. This is the one I had on VHS as a teenager and watched it an absurd number of times. I probably haven't seen it in over a decade now, but I feel comfort owning it. I feel comfort owing it there, where it takes me back. Okay, Owen Edwards, The Keep, Halloween 2, Jaws 2, Christine, and Moonraker. And Daniel Archer, Xanadu, Working Girl, Baghdad Cafe, Hannah and Her Sisters, Baby Boo, Married to the Mob, Heartburn, and Flash Gordon. Yeah, that's
good variety.
Mostly
Very cool.
That was the list from Facebook and Patreon. I'm going to do Instagram now. I was going to go to the Instagram page, Cinema to Meep on Instagram, by the way.
Sure.
And look at the posts and read off all the responses. There were quite a few, actually.
Awesome list so far.
Okay. Do this first, maybe. Yeah, let's go backwards. Okay, Yoda 3278, Evil Dead 1 and 2. Dave Felter, Midnight Run, Scarface, Tapehead, Sideways, Breaking Away. Okay, and then Billiam SWN. Sorry. Ghostbusters, Princess Mononoke, 21 Jump Street, Star Trek from 2009, and Star Trek First Contact. Slasher Fan 78, Uncle Buck, The Great Outdoors, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yes, all John Candy films. I understand because John Candy films are very comforting.
Yes, definitely.
Sci-Fi Explosion, my friend Chris. Once, Times Square, Star Trek 2, this is Spinal Tap. The Cult Worthy, High Fidelity is my breakup movie. Godfather is my I Miss My Dad movie. Rocky 1 to 4 is a Thanksgiving tradition. Hot Tub Time Machine is my get drunk when I'm sad movie. All right. Rebecca Fairbanks, Desert Hearts, American Psycho, A Room with a View, Hackers, and Charade. Love the variety there. Tutti fucking Fruity. Mrs. Doubtfire, The Birdcage, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The second time that's mentioned. Interesting.
Love it.
The Lost Boys and Jurassic Park. Tribesmen Picks, Streets of Fire, Midnight Run, Wonder Boys, Superman, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Three Amigos, Fletch, Romancing the Stone, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Long Kiss Goodnight, and Beverly Hills Cop.
Ooh, awesome.
And then Neon Maniac wrote in Wonder Boys. The Morgster Squad, my friend Morgan. Just One of the Guys, Modern Girls, The Monster Squad, Summer School, Can't Buy Me Love, and Miami Connection. All fun.
Yeah.
Captain Howdy, 1981. Cutthroat Island.
Oh, nice.
That's brave of you. Peter Frechette. The actor.
Oh, their only one was Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island, yeah.
Sorry. Please continue.
It's pretty funny. Peter Frechette. He's an actor. He's actually in Grease 2 and Hills of Ice 2.
Awesome.
The Incredible Mr. Limpet, The Love Bug, What's So Bad About Feeling Good, The Trouble with Angels, and Tootsie.
Awesome.
I feel you on Tootsie. Mr. Black, 13 Tracks. At Long Last Love, Choose Me, and The Incredible Melting Man.
Nice.
Don't Answer the Phone, wrote in The Cooler. Kendall Keeling, The Omen, Wreck, Die Hard, The Terminator, Murder by Death, and A Serious Man. Andy Blarg, my friend Andrew Parker, The Great Muppet Caper, Paddington, To Live and Die in L.A., Darkman, The Maltese Falcon, MacGruber, Deadly Friend, and Will Success Spoiled Rock Hunter, which I've never seen, but I need to see.
Oh, very cool. You know, The Great Muppet Caper is definitely one for me too. A lot of these are, but
I need to rewatch. Maybe that's the one I should watch with the kids because
I love that one.
I haven't seen that in so long. Rebirth of Mercy Yakaron, Blade Runner, and Alien. Real Love Connie wrote in White Palace, The Shining, and that's all I got right now for some reason. Rick Kane Lives, The Towering Inferno, The Core, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is the 78 version, and a chorus line. Hazard Valley Films wrote in True Romance. Ms. Mickey Worley, NBCT. Xanadu. Oh my God. Generous. The Fog, Dazed and Confused, Rear Window, and weirdly enough, Spring Breakers. PPOM AOM. The Heartbreak Kid from 1972. Junk and Gems wrote in, if not a disaster movie, then a 1980s caper. Big Business, 9 to 5, The Burbs, Baby Boom, Young Frankenstein, Moonstruck, Overboard, etc., but also Double Jeopardy. And Watchdown, Clue, The Warriors, Romy and Michelle, Adventures in Babysitting, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Cyberdyne, Aliens, Back to the Future, Midnight Madness, Murder by Death, Romancing the Stone, The Parent Trap, and so much more. LOL.
Awesome, yeah.
Greggy Top, The Silent Partners, become an annual watch for me every Christmas time. That is a really
interesting
Christmas movie, by the way. Just a Disc Pod. It's Brian Sauer of Pure Cinema Podcast. After Hours, Rock and Roll High School, Modern Girls, Midnight Madness, The Nice Guys, Pop Star, Real Genius, Night Shift, Valley Girls, Lunatics, A Love Story, It's a Gift, and Duck Soup.
Interesting.
And Elephant Scenic. Elvis Graton is a big one. 4-4. And lastly, Bowser 56, Passenger 57.
Oh, nice.
Always Bet on Black.
Yeah.
So a wide variety of, obviously, of films. Everyone finds comfort in different things. I love it. It's amazing.
Yes.
This has been fun.
Yes, it has. I hope we brought some comfort.
I feel so much comfort right now. I don't even need Christmas.
Yeah, no, we hope we did this topic justice for you, Bill. You are in our thoughts always, buddy.
Always.
And we had a lot of fun talking about these movies, and I had a lot of fun hearing everyone's list. There was a lot that I would have definitely included or at least mentioned if I thought of it, but like we said, it's really a endless list, right? So
and endless variations. I don't believe in a top 10 of all time because I feel like it just changes all the time depending on your mood.
Absolutely.
I feel like movies for me I associate with moods. What mood am I in to watch right now? So it changes, and so I have so many, because I like so many different kinds of movies. I know you like so many different kinds of movies.
Oh yeah.
It changes, that list, and so we can put endless kind of varieties, but we just kind of went with what we wanted to go with this time. So
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great movies out there. At the end of the day, we kind of picked the ones we wanted to highlight, but I loved hearing everyone else's takes on it.
Absolutely.
This is a great time of year to enjoy your favorite comfort movies. So everyone listening, I hope you're doing that. Yeah. And I hope you also understand that it's past 4 o'clock for Meep right now. So I think he's ready to wrap this up.
I'm operating on like scotch and water and I don't know what else, and adrenaline. And
we've been recording so long, my allergy medicine that was supposed to last me through the day is worn out too, and my nose is itching like crazy.
Story of my life, guys. All right, guys, this has been fun. I hope you enjoyed this number 50. It was a big one for us, and
Yes.
reached, a big number for us. And finishing off, I think this is the final. This is it for 2022. We'll take a little break after this. I hope you enjoyed listening to us in this year, and thank you for supporting us, of course. And hopefully you're watching these on YouTube and Patreon page. And where else can they find you? Where can they find our Alishan?
Well, for now, I still have just shamefully just have a couple of personal social media accounts that I am always more than happy to make new friends on. But you can just find me by looking me up on either Facebook, which is what I use most of the time, or Instagram, which is what I use a lot less, but need to start using more. And one day I will start posting about movies somewhere again, because that was fun before I just kind of ran out of steam. But yeah, this is my outlet for now. This is where I like to get my movie side out. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, look out for our other podcasts on retromovielove.com and Instagram, Cinema to Meep, and Facebook, Retro Movie Love, and wherever else. My personal page, Michael Ferrari. We'll reach out. We'll talk movies. Tell us more. What makes you happy? What makes you comfortable? And then suggest what we might want to hear us talk about in the future. There's lots of things, endless things to talk about.
Absolutely.
We're gonna hit the hay, and thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, Bill. Again, this was special. You're a very special person.
Bill. Definitely, 100%.
Take care, guys. Ciao for now.
Lying on the sand, watching seabirds fly, wishing there would be someone waiting home for me. Something's telling me it might be you. It's telling me it might be you. All of my looking back as lovers go walking past. All of my life, wondering how they met and what makes it last. If I found the place, would I recognize the face? Something's telling me it might be you. Yeah, it's telling me it might be you. So many quiet walks to take, so many dreams to wake, and we've so much love to make. it's telling